Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a horrifically obscure version of Monster Party.
Monster Party! It's monstrous. It's obscure. It's weird and wild.
It's off the beaten path.
It's down a
It's
hallway.
down a cul-de-sac that all the kids won't play on.
with graffiti on it.
Yes, and remember that skater that went down there? He never came back. Skater? Skater, you know, the skaters.
This is going to be good. This is going to be it. And but who are you, sir?
I am Matt Weinhold.
I am Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James GONIS.
And for this episode,
This is special.
Yeah, because we are revisiting a previous topic that it's one of those topics that no matter how much you talk about it,
Yeah.
there's always going to be more.
There
there
is, yeah.
really is always going to be more,
One
especially
of my
when
favorite topics.
yeah, no, it's great.
Oh, for you, yeah.
And I think it's a good one for our audience because you are able now to add some more films to your I need to see this list.
Yeah, they like to hear, recommendations from us or
Exactly.
movies, titles that they've never heard of.
well,
Yes.
what is this amazing topic?
Well, we did an episode with friend of the show, Dave Higgins.
Love Dave Higgins.
Yes, called Horror Obscura.
Horror Obscura.
Horror Obscura. Mm-hmm. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to present to you in this episode
This episode,
Horror Obscura Volume 2.
Horror Obscura Volume 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
And we don't have Dave, but we have someone better to have us.
Wow.
To,
See how quickly
Let's start comparing our guests now.
how quickly he turns on past guests.
He's dead to me, but we have a great guest.
No, we do. We do. The minute he leaves town, he's dead too. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Well, we do have a great guest for this because,
Absolutely.
I mean, this is talk about a person who knows his stuff.
He is a person.
Talk about a person who is a person. If you're going to get a guest, I suggest a person.
But he's amazing.
He is amazing. We've had him on the show. We like to think of him as a friend of the show. He's been on twice.
Yes, I have.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Wait, he's a writer.
he's a writer.
He's a director.
He's a director.
Genre
screenwriter.
expert.
Genre expert.
He was big in the
novelist.
80s.
Ladies and gentlemen, see Courtney Joyner.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
And I was going to get to all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I was just so excited.
I know, yes.
Welcome to
Oh,
2018.
thank you very much. Yes,
Yeah.
I would ask, yes, who's more obscure than I am? So I'm perfect for this topic.
No,
Yes.
no, you are.
Guest Obscura.
No, for listeners, no, this dude.
For our listeners, you're not obscure.
No,
Let me
see,
tell you.
Courtney Joyner, he's
A
a
legend.
big writer. He's a novelist. You just came out with a book.
Yes, I did.
Yes, please tell us.
What is that book?
The book is called Nemo Rising. It's from Tor.
And it's about that little fish from the...
No.
Many little fish.
Come on.
It is.
It's not that.
Captain, it is a sequel of sorts to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. But
Ooh.
very much in the kind of Punisher, kick-ass Doc Savage mode.
Fantastic.
Is the tact. And
great.
it has also been rather embraced by the steampunk community because
Imagine
yes. So I'm very, very pleased for that. But it's big, violent, epic.
Everything
sea
we
story.
love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, but this is current. You're hip. You're
It
happening. You're
came
now.
out. Yes, it actually came out on December the 26th.
Yeah.
yes.
Awesome. Congratulations.
In
Yeah.
the stores. You
Now.
can buy this book. We'll have more information about where to buy this book, but you can buy it at a lot of places that have books.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's got a cool.
Go to the book places.
It's got a cool cover too.
Very cool cover.
Beautiful.
But so
Thank you.
now here we go. Here is this topic, Horror Obscura. Now before we were even on the air, you were throwing out some names of movies, or I was like, oh, that's perfect. So why don't you kind of just start us off here?
Yeah,
if you got one that just comes to mind.
Yeah.
From
Give
any
us
era.
Give us a
any,
horror obscura, sir. Come on.
Well, I always, I would go back to the 40s and even the 30s, and of course,
Wow.
so
Whoa,
many
whoa,
of these
whoa.
movies.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, we talked about silent
But you know,
films.
a lot of these films that we've been talking about, I was looking at some of the topics we hit on before, actually had fallen into the public domain. They kind of
right.
drifted.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Right.
Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, for example, was mentioned on
Yeah,
the last show,
yeah.
and that did for a period.
So that was
that-
that was in
yes.
public
I didn't know
domain.
it was public
Yeah,
domain. Wow.
it did. And for Bela Lugosi fans, the two movies, and they're really more murder mysteries, but they are widely available. The Death Kiss.
Okay.
With him and Edward Van Sloan. This is very close to the time of Dracula. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know
And
this one.
Murder by Television.
Whoa.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Okay.
I've never seen that one. I've always seen that title.
Okay,
Yes.
you just blew my mind here because you just gave us two titles. I'm sorry, I am not familiar with either of these. No. What can you tell me about the first one?
Well, Death Kiss,
Death Kiss.
I believe it was Tiffany Stahl Productions. And it was, again, you know, it was the kind of the old bromide that old dark house movies used to do, was set it in a movie studio where they could save money by using the
Smart.
sound stages
Right,
for
right.
sound
Smart.
stages, et cetera, and offices for offices. And that's what it is. It's about murder at a movie studio.
But Bela Lugosi's in it.
Bela Lugosi's in it, and Edward Van Sloan.
Okay.
And
And
then
he plays the Death Kiss.
well, the death kiss is who receives the death kiss. That's the
You know,
question.
I don't want
Yes.
to know, Matt, because I want to see this.
And David Manners is in it too.
He
right?
surely
So
is.
half the cast. From
Half the
Dracula.
cast of Dracula is in this movie.
That's awesome.
So what was this? Is this like 30 something then?
I believe it's
32.
1932. Yeah.
Oh my God! See, there you go. I am not familiar with this one.
It's probably because, like, at the time, with Dracula being such a hit, they kind of tried to ride on that popularity of that film, another kind of spooky mystery thriller.
Well, of course, Lugosi jumped from studios to studios so quickly during this period, and don't forget, he also went directly into a lot of serials again, even
Right.
after the
Phantom
success of
Creeps.
Dracula. The Phantom
Really?
Creeps, but before that, Shadow of Chinatown, for
right.
example, and this. It seemed like an odd career move that he didn't hold out a bit more, but
Right.
Did he kind of see the writing on the wall, maybe a little bit? Of,
well,
like,
he loved his salaries. I think that was really
Okay.
the thing. When he had money,
went
he
to work.
loved to spend it, and he was very generous with
Yeah.
it. And he liked to live the movie star life, and
Yeah.
the only way to make
doesn't?
that popular.
Matt, you know what that's like.
Yeah,
of course.
Come on, guys.
I don't know if you remember a show called Evening at the Improv on the A&E network, but I'm still getting non-residuals from that to this day.
I know. I mean, let's face it. There is an end of the road. You can only put fives in a G string for so long.
When they suddenly turn to change,
That's it. Yes.
And then what was the second one that you mentioned?
Oh, Murder by Television.
Yeah, Murder by, because I have never heard of that one.
television, a very new concept.
It was a very-
at this
right.
time.
Yes, and in fact, I guess was KDKA in Pittsburgh really was the very first broadcast TV station, and so this is going back to.
But that
those-
was some good TV.
Oh, you bet, and it stayed that way all the way through the 70s. But also, this would have been around the time, of course, of the television demonstrations at the World's Fair.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's new
Sure.
technology.
New technology,
1939,
absolutely. That's right.
40.
And so
and to them, that would have been, well, I guess, what, the New York World's Fair was, what, 35?
39.
39, okay. So this really, to everybody, TV was like a laser beam and, was a weapon that
Right.
was going to...
Sure. Well, you can't
Right.
sit too close to it. We knew that.
Right.
Right.
Is that the plot of the movie where a bunch of kids sit too close and
Sit too close.
get wiped out?
Ruin their eyesight.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
it.
I talked about that on a previous show. My parents actually they drew a line of chalk. There was you guys laugh. You
That's
guys
like
laugh.
I Love Lucy.
No.
You say on that
Everyone
side of the
laughs.
line,
Everyone
yeah.
laughs like ha ha ha.
Yeah,
Isn't
you
this
had a
funny?
feud
No.
with the TV.
No, we had a new color TV. It was down in the family room, but it was was very bright and it made noise. Kind of.
Whoa.
And then-
Radioactive?
yeah, when you turned it on, it goes.
Oh, sure. It had that kind of that
And then-
percolation.
yeah, and so
Hey,
my
you had a
parents-
steam-powered color TV.
It's like a Jules Verne TV.
Yes.
No.
He also loves steampunk.
No. So, but Courtney, what happened was about my parents were concerned. Either they read something in some magazine, and what they did, we had a big circular
Enquirer.
brown rug, and they measured about 4.5 feet and drew this big line in chalk.
So they ruined the carpet by drawing chalk?
Yes. And the thing that pissed us all off is it was like, oh, the best spot was like just inside the chalk line. You know what I mean? And they wanted us to be on the outside of the chalk
Didn't
line.
you
It was like,
erase
this
it
is
when they
so
weren't
far.
there and make it move
Oh,
it?
we tried to do stuff
Your
like
mom was
that.
the
Larry,
exact
did-
opposite of mine. My mom is like, I don't care what happens to your eyes. Do not fuck up the rug.
That's it. Yes.
Really?
So Larry, did you ever venture into the forbidden zone?
Yeah.
You mean
Cross the line.
It is the
line.
forbidden
Of
zone
course.
too
Yeah.
because it's like
Yes,
radiation.
well, we did. Well, of course we did. And eventually, what happened? We're all playing down the family room with blocks and stuff, and the little chalk thing got worn out, kind of a thing. And then my parents says, they just got tired after bitching
Right.
about it for a while.
Every time they look the other way, you like rub it out and then draw it a little closer.
Oh man, yeah.
Wow.
And it got to
Wow.
the point where the TV after many years, it started to make these popping sounds. It was like
That is
kind
not
of TV
good.
did you
and yeah. But I'll save some other.
I used to
stories for
do
another
this
show.
thing because I had no one stopping me from hurting myself, and I would do that thing where I'd put my eye right up to the color TV to see, so you could see the actual individual color
yes,
dots.
the little dots
Oh, yeah.
moving
And I was
around.
just like,
absolutely. Wow.
and then you
yes.
back up and you go, and it creates a picture. Whoa!
I remember when we got our first color TV. I still remember the reason that we got it. The Andy Williams Christmas special.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
that was why it was purchased. Yes, so we sat there. I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's wearing a
colors.
red cardigan."
Can you imagine though if you did Murder by Television with Andy Williams being on? What a
Ooh,
film
wow.
that would be, huh?
There you go. Yes.
But this film, Murder by Television, this took place this is like still in 39, 38 or something.
You.
This is like 35.
35. Gosh, that's
35.
crazy.
Yeah. And
Because
who's
I've
in
never
it?
heard of this.
Who's in it?
It's Bela Lugosi, and I'm trying to remember our other cast. Oh, June Collier, who we love, and George Meeker, who of course, and Hattie McDaniel.
Oh.
And George Meeker is also the squirmy boyfriend in Dead Man's Eyes who won't leave
Oh, the
Gene Parker alone. Yes.
the Cheney the
The Inner Sanctum mystery.
Yeah, I
yes.
like those films.
Yes.
They're fun.
Wow.
Yes, he's,
It's cool. Murder by Television is like it's kind of like a like there's a murder and they use the
Lugosi
television
did an
somehow.
awful lot of films like this. Night of Terror for Columbia, and I remember he was in one of their very first Charlie Chans.
That's
And-
right. That's
yes,
right.
the Black Camel. And so he did more of kind of these mysteries and whodunits and kind of
Right.
that type of thing than Karloff did during this period, because he generally, even right after Frankenstein, he kind of was drifting back and forth. Of course, he was doing prestige films like House of Rothschild, for example, and The Lost Patrol and things like that. But they also, I think, still saw him in gangster films because of
crime stuff.
But yes, exactly,
Right.
because of the criminal code and Scarface.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
He did a Capra movie too, right?
Yes, he did.
Did he?
Yeah. You Can't Take It With You.
Oh,
Wasn't that him?
That's
No,
true.
well,
Yeah,
he was
whoa,
in
whoa.
Arsenic. Well, he was to
Arsenic
be
and
in
Old Lace.
Arsenic and Old Lace,
that's
but
it.
of course he wasn't. It was Raymond Massey.
Yeah, but he did the play.
That was the whole thing.
On
It
Broadway.
was, yes, he did. They
and there's a
gave-
line. There's a line.
Right, we see. I look like Boris
You
Karloff.
look like Boris
Boris
Karloff.
Karloff, that's it.
And the play was such a success that when Warner Brothers bought it, and the whole idea behind the purchase of Arsenic and Old Lace, it was such a gigantic hit on Broadway that they wanted something for Frank Capra and Cary Grant before, because nobody knew who was going to be in the service. Of course, Capra was
Right.
going in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was Cary Grant going to go back to England? You know, they had no idea what was going to happen with all these guys. So they buy this show, and then the question, Boris Karloff, do you come to California and do the movie?
Yeah.
Or is it the two leads, Gina Adair and the other actress playing her sister? And he allowed them to do it.
No.
And he stayed with the Broadway production because they needed one name to
I
keep
see.
the Broadway
Okay.
show
I
going.
see.
What a class act.
Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
through his
I've
entire
heard
life.
nothing but lovely things about Boris.
Yes.
Karloff.
And
Yeah.
that was the thing, of course, when he finished the run, he did come back to Hollywood, and he got that whopping contract at Universal to do House of Frankenstein and the Climax, and his salary had seriously climbed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
right. Interesting.
Cool.
It's
Awesome.
nice when you get a genre happy ending.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
really, really.
Okay, well, you gave us some good obscure
Yeah, those are
ones.
great.
Anyone
All
else
right,
want
all
to
right,
chime
James.
in?
James, careful. Careful.
Yeah.
Okay, one more time. Horror. Horror.
Not
Obscura.
fish obscura.
Not
or whale obscura.
Not Robert
And if
Altman.
anyone wants to know what we're talking about,
Listen to our first
Yes.
horror obscura
and you will
episode.
find a ridiculous moment on that show.
Horror.
As a
obscura.
matter of fact, this weekend, CNN premiered.
Oh, no.
No, I'm kidding.
That was good, though. That was a good delivery.
I'm going to go back, way back to 1949 in Japan
Okay.
Oh.
for the very first Japanese genre movie
Nice.
before Godzilla by Daiei Studios, and it was called Tome Ningen Arawaru, which translates to Transparent Man.
Okay.
The studio did their own version of The Invisible Man. Now, the trailer for this movie is available on YouTube. You can check out a couple of minutes on YouTube, but otherwise it's very, very hard to find.
Wow.
Toho did their own in 54, shortly after they released Godzilla, and that was called The Invisible Avenger. E.G. Tsuburaya did the effects, which were very much like the James Whale movie. And the movie, it is sort of a takeoff on The Invisible Man. Now, Godzilla was so popular in 54 that it pretty much eclipsed any memory of Invisible Avenger.
Right.
And then to round it out, Daiei did another Invisible Man movie called Transparent Man versus Flyman in 1957.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute.
Flyman.
So what?
Now, they all sort of have, at least the latter two, have a couple of things in common. They have to do with
Invisibility?
invisibility
I'm a genius.
and,
This is just like Sleuth.
and gangsters, and some of them are, they break into like musical sequences with really sexy girls and fishnets. Both Toho
sounds
and
great.
Daiei, yeah, that's pretty,
What
pretty
is the
fun.
what is the fly man though?
The
Is it like
flyman
a,
is not an actual fly.
Okay.
It's
Okay, well then never
he's
mind.
a guy who has a fly that won't open?
Okay, come on. No,
it
does
is-
he have big
we're
eyes?
clean,
Come
Sheridan.
on, come on.
It's the Flyman is the villain of the piece, and he's called Flyman because he's shrunken.
He's what?
Well, how shrunken?
About 3 inches tall.
Okay.
Oh,
So like
all right.
Ant-Man.
Wow.
Like Ant-Man, yeah.
Okay.
And the Invisible Man in that movie, again, this is 1957, is actually the hero. He makes himself transparent with science in order to catch the Flyman who's
okay.
committing these murders.
Interesting.
But again, all these movies are really kind of hard to find.
Have you seen these?
The first one I can't find anywhere. I
Right.
have seen.
Did you give us the
I gave you DVD copies a while ago of these. Yeah.
Yeah.
now I have to
Check
Fly,
them out.
Flyman,
Really?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Invisible
Yeah,
Man.
okay.
Invisible Man versus Flyman.
Invisible Avenger? Is that a good guy? Because it sounds like the name of a superhero.
No, he's actually not.
He's not. Okay.
Okay. I know there's there's the is it the Toho film The Secret of Telegion,
Yeah, those came later in the 60s.
which is kind of like a takeoff of The Fly, where it's a matter transformer, right? And
Right.
he can transport himself from one place to another, right? And he kind of yeah.
Toho did 3 movies like that.
Yeah.
The Human Vapor, The H-Man, and Secret of
Right.
the Legion.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about where the H-Man fit into this kind of
Yeah.
catalog.
Yeah,
Yes,
they
that
kept
was,
going back to the whole invisibility thing. I think
Yeah.
they were, and more recent years they've done kind of soft core, sexy, invisible.
Who needs to see that?
Well, they're invisible, so I
You got a point. You got a point, Larry.
Anyway, this is about as obscure as you can get, so I hope I've redeemed myself.
okay. What's it called again?
What's the
There's a
whole
bunch of 'em.
The Invisible Man trilogy.
Invisible Man in Japanese is Tome Ningen. That's Transparent Man in Japanese.
Okay.
So if you can, you can go online, you can see what you can find. It's going to be tough, but take a look.
Yeah, I'm curious. Somebody should release those too.
Apart from the musical sequences, some of the most fun for me is that you can see, especially in the Toho one, you can see a lot of locations in Japan where they shot like, wow, that's what Ginza looked like in 1954.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Right.
Even more than in the first Godzilla movie, you can see a lot of actual locations.
But they're
in Tokyo.
musical.
They have
numbers?
numbers.
They break into musical numbers because that's what they did back in the 50s.
But they break into musical numbers like a musical does, where all of a sudden
Or
the
at a
protagonist
club,
starts
they're at a club.
singing.
Like in War of the Gargantuas, you've got that great song.
Exactly,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah, it's like that kind of thing.
It's just like that.
They're at a
That's cool.
nightclub.
That's cool. I like.
and-
Yeah, the H-Man has a lot of that.
Yeah,
too.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Wow.
Cool.
Nicely done.
Done.
All right. All right. Well, look.
impressive.
Yeah, it is impressive. And one thing, Courtney, about these guys here is, they're all like movie Yodas. They've all seen a ton of movies. I'm more of the regular Joe kind of guy. I'm like
you're the regular Joe.
I maybe haven't seen as I've seen a lot, but these guys have.
But you have opinions about all of them, whether you've seen them or not.
No. So and the other thing, Courtney, I was thinking about, boy, that first show that we did. The horror obscura, it was tough. I wanted to recommend stuff that I saw that I thought was obscure, and for this time I was thinking, God, I gotta scrape the barrel, but I thought, you know what, I'm gonna change this up a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. And I decided to go in a different area, and I thought about there is some stuff that is, I think, obscure and people may not know about it. I think that I saw, and it's never escaped me, so I thought I'd throw this out.
All right. I'm ready.
Okay. In 1965,
there
was an animated cartoon that came out called The Famous Adventures of Mr. Magoo.
Okay.
Now, some people go, oh, who's that? Mr. Magoo. He's the very wealthy millionaire guy, and Jim Backus does the voice. He goes, and he's blind. He can't see very well. And it's always
hilarious
like very comical,
blind man.
okay? And I remember, the hilarious blind man that gets in his car and drives.
Yeah, and he never knows where he is, but he thinks he knows where he is.
Isn't this funny? Ha! Let's laugh at the let's laugh at the wealthy blind man
almost
driving.
getting killed.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
And his nephew Waldo.
Yes, his nephew Waldo. And I remember thinking to myself, you know what? Mr. Magoo is pretty darn stupid. I wasn't really a fan. But there was this thing that was made in 65 called The Famous Adventures of Mr. Magoo, Dr. Frankenstein.
There sure was.
And you know what, Courtney, the first thing, when I saw it now, I didn't see this in 65. I was born in 64. So I saw this years later. And being such a horror fan as a kid, I thought anything I can get that was Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, I wanted to see it. And when I heard about this one, oh man, it's probably he's going to make fun of Frankenstein. But no, absolutely not. This Mr. Magoo plays it seriously.
And it starts on an ice floe.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, it does.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so it kind of tells loosely. It doesn't tell exactly the story of
Andy Warhol's Mr. Magoo.
No. There's no sexuality in it. But what's really cool is the Frankenstein.
I'll be the judge of that.
Okay. No. And listeners, just take my word for it. First of all, it's not a long piece. It's like about 20 minutes. You can find this on YouTube. Okay.
But it was on TV then.
It was on TV.
It was like a TV special.
And they put these together, because he also did a Sherlock Holmes.
He did, but the thing that really surprised me as a kid was it was a serious thing to the point where, I mean, it's kind of tragic at the end, which really surprised me.
Wow,
and I'm thinking,
idea.
this was made in 65. I think I maybe saw it in like 70, 71, and it really freaked me out. Frankenstein, they couldn't make Frankenstein how we see him as Boris Karloff.
Right.
But he has like a skull-like face.
Really?
He's not cartoony, kind of funny.
Right.
He's kind of creepy.
And he's gigantic.
He's gigantic, and also he has this brain where he wants to create other monsters like himself. I mean, it's really, really cool.
Interesting.
Sounds
really,
good.
And so it's like I thought to myself, yeah.
And remember that fantastic shot. I always remember the monster holding a torch.
Yes.
Coming towards the camera to kill Mr.
Exactly.
Magoo.
And you know, Courtney, when the animators, I'm wondering when they were putting this together, where they wanted to try to pay an homage or something to Frankenstein, but they had to do something in such a way that, look, it's still, we have to do this under the disguise. Look, it's Mr. Magoo, and we don't want to freak
But
kids out.
my question is he blind? like he is in the other cartoons, and he thinks he's making a
No.
cake, but then he makes
No,
a man.
No.
That's the funny thing. Mr. Magoo looks just like Mr. Magoo, but he's not that. He's not that
Okay,
Mr. Magoo.
okay.
Well,
Really?
you know, when they, of course, Christmas Carol
Yeah.
Right.
is beautifully done and is very much the story. And then they added those bizarre bookends where he's an actor and that's when he crashes his car into the restaurant and all these things. And then you get to the point where it is the telling of the Charles Dickens story, and it's done straight.
Yeah. And so for this,
Passion of the Magoo Christ.
well, the interesting
Probably
it's almost like it's
where they
almost-
jump the shark.
But it's almost like Mr. Magoo is a real person and he's in this play or something.
sweet. Wow,
But it's
strange.
totally straight. So
Okay.
again, for listeners, it's only about 20 minutes. It's it's limited animation like from
Right,
those,
yeah,
those
it was-
60s,
yeah,
but
yeah.
still it's something unusual and something you don't normally see. So there's my
Interesting.
horror
That's great.
obscura.
No,
Yeah,
that's
I had no
awesome.
idea.
You know, UPA did a spin-off of the original Magoo cartoons called The Famous Adventures of Mr. Magoo, which this must have been part of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where he's in the, the world of Robin Hood or, a Shakespeare story, and they don't play off on the nearsightedness.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
think
they
this
play
is
it straight.
I think this is
Right,
from that
right.
same
Yeah,
category
because they
See,
did Snow White.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right, yes.
And the thing that gets me is I remember bits and pieces of those, but the one I really remember was Frankenstein.
Right,
and
right.
when I did my research and I came across it, oh my God, I remember this. And it's just something that I think people just don't know about.
Yeah,
So
I don't.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of UPA, and I don't know why this is not just readily available, is their stunning version of A Telltale Heart.
I've seen
Narrated
that.
by James Mason.
Yes, I've seen
It
that.
is just incredible.
Like from the 60s?
It's
it was done in, I think, 1961.
animated.
And-
Kind of
Yes.
very artistic, limited animation.
It was just gorgeous. And the designer was Paul Julian, who was the background artist at Warner Brothers for the Roadrunner cartoons. And did all the title sequences for Roger Corey. He did the titles for The Terror.
Oh, I love all that artwork.
Yes, and
Like-
Attack of the Crab Monsters.
Oh, that's
and None
all
of This Earth,
surreal.
and all
Yeah.
that
It's like
stuff.
something
He designed
Things
love
with
that
paint.
stuff.
and-
That's right.
Sean, that's
Yeah.
what this is. It's surreal, this Telltale
Oh,
Heart.
man.
It's absolutely fantastic. I actually used to have it. Columbia put it out on Super 8. Color sound.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
And in fact, they sold it in the back of Famous Monsters.
That's
It was
right. I
the
had no
expensive
idea
one.
that
I
was
remember, I
that one.
remember.
That was the
Oh
one. It was
my
like
God.
$14.95, and that's how you
And
might
it's-
as well have
the
been $1 million.
Captain Company.
So it's
Yes.
James Mason reading the poem, and
That's
there's
right.
all these visuals that
That's
are
right.
really kind of creepy and twisted. And
Yes, it's just wonderful, and I'm sure it is available on YouTube. But this is something that really needs to come out in a very special deluxe
Yeah,
collector's
yeah,
edition.
Kino or
And
somebody should put
yes,
it out. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Wow,
it's
that's
wonderful.
awesome. Cool.
Great.
nice.
All right, Sean.
All right, Sean.
All right.
Why don't you throw us like 20 that you've got?
Rocket into the 90s.
Whoa, whoa.
Yes,
Whoa,
90s.
whoa.
Now, this is one that probably, Courtney, you've heard of. This was probably a lesser-known Lovecraft adaptation. And it's also the last movie directed by Dan O'Bannon. And it would be The Resurrected.
That is a really good movie.
Love this movie.
No, I don't know The Resurrected.
The Resurrected is 1992. It's basically an updated kind of modern day retelling of the case of Charles Dexter Ward with Chris Sarandon in the role. It's kind of a cool concept because they do it from, it's almost like a kind of detective film noir kind of setting where a detective played by John Terry is recruited by this beautiful woman who's the wife of Charles Dexter Ward. She wants the detective to investigate her husband, Chris Sarandon, because he's doing these weird experiments, about
Chris.
life and death. And and she wants him to.
What have I
look
told
into
you
it.
about the experiments?
And of course, she's like really hot, and the detective is kind of falling for her, and so he has to find out what's going on with Chris Sarandon. And so it's kind of him, investigating this. And there's this remote house where Chris Sarandon is doing his experiments, and there's this horrible stench of death around. And I don't want to tell too much about it, but it's
stench of
really well
death.
done, and it's has fantastic like monster effects and gore stuff in it. And this movie came out in '92. It was Dan O'Bannon, several years earlier had done, of course, Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
But this movie came out and kind of didn't get. It came out at a bad time, I think. Right?
Well, he was already pretty ill. I actually
Yes.
went to a screening of this. I'm sure it was for Donald Reed. For those of you, yes, the Count Dracula Society.
Society, right?
Very pleased to present this adaptation, H.P. Lovecraft.
The Saturn Awards,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
and Saturn
Eddie
Awards.
Deason was
Yes, yes.
hosting the Saturn
So
Awards.
that's actually a fairly accurate Donald Reed. But Dan O'Bannon was there, and so was Richard Band. And this movie has one of his absolute best scores. It's a wonderful score.
It is. It's a really classy production.
Yes, it's very, very good. And poor Dan, he was already sick with his,
Right.
Yeah.
stomach
But didn't
situation.
wasn't the movie kind of taken away from him too by the producers? I
It,
think,
it was,
and, they kinda redid
and
some
it just
stuff.
kind of vanished.
Yeah, and it's a shame because it's a good,
yes.
it's a good film. It's a good Lovecraft adaptation, and it's definitely worth seeing. It's
Absolutely,
really good
It's-
effects.
It's really good.
Yeah.
And it absolutely just fell right through the cracks.
It really did, and luckily, just recently, I think at Scream Factory came out with a deluxe Blu-ray. There's interviews on it and everything. It's
You have
really
this?
worth. But it's really worth seeing. And Chris Sarandon's great in it.
Oh, he's
and,
great in everything,
Gene Sibbett plays his wife, and I'm telling you, some really great monster effects. In it.
This is a film that thank you, Sean, because this I am not familiar with.
Yeah.
No, and I love monster practical effects.
No, it's really it is kind of like a lost film that has been recently found, and
What's Amazon price?
$17.
Hey,
There you
forget
go.
it. That's chump change. The kind of money we make doing this
wow.
show.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it is available by Shout Factory, and it's like you can get it for under $20 on Amazon. It's
Shout
definitely worth
Factory!
getting. It's
I'm
really
there.
good. Yeah, because as we all know, Lovecraft has been kind of represented.
Not familiar.
Hot and cold though
Yeah.
in films, and
Yeah.
some great adaptations, some not so
Mostly
good adaptations.
horrible.
Yeah, so and this is a good one. It's definitely worth checking out.
But I think
good
it was
cast.
I think it was you that said sometimes it's really hard to put Lovecraft on the screen because
It is.
you said that it's great on the page, but to
Right,
try to do
right.
that transfer to
Because it's. I
mean, you're the Lovecraft expert
Yeah,
here.
and he's not exactly conventional when it comes to story structure.
To say the least.
Yes.
But Charles Dexter Ward, that story is a little bit easier. It's not like the cosmic horror of like Dunwich Horror or something. It's more.
Well, it's also too with what O'Bannon did and kind of transferring it, and of course, if someone was not aware that the Haunted Palace is also Charles.
that's
Dexter
true
Ward.
loosely, but yes.
Yes. And there it was kind of combining Lovecraft with Poe and what
Right,
have
right.
you, and trying to kind of this very nice Poe-pourri. if you will. Sorry, I know.
That's why you make the money that you do.
and a true love for the craft.
We have just deteriorated to just
James.
Let me look this up on my Hewlett Packard HP because it's got a sign.
Wowee.
Well, Sean,
yes,
thank you for bringing
that's a
that
good
one
one.
up. That's
Yeah,
a good
yeah,
one.
it's
Very
definitely
cool.
worth checking out.
All right, if we're gonna be on this H.P. Lovecraft track here, thingamajig. This is an obscure movie. It's really good, and it's actually one of the best modern H.P. Lovecraft films out there.
Okay.
And it's a movie called Die Farbe, which is German.
Die Farbe.
Yeah, which is, I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced.
Okay.
I'm German. I have no idea how my people speak.
Okay. What's the date on it, Matt?
It's 2010.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, that's okay.
And
Kind of
it's-
recent.
it's-
Okay.
Translates to The Color, and it is a version of The Color Out of Space. And it's great because it's done in black and white. German cast, directed by a German director of Vietnamese descent, Huan Vu.
Huh.
And he really caught the dread of a Lovecraft story.
Cool.
Films it all in black and white, except the color. The
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
cool.
it's very effective. And yeah, the basic story of this is that there's this meteor that falls and it has this strange color to it. And this color ends up sort of seeping into the ground and the air and animals and eventually people. And it just decimates them and eventually turns them into this powder. Like they break apart and become dust. And really good, really effective, very well acted. As you could imagine, with a German cast, there's a lot of dread and doom involved in what
I
you
was
see
going
on
to
the
say
screen.
wall-to-wall laughs.
Yeah, no. There's a lot of comic relief, and it's during the credits.
Really?
Yes.
Is there a zoo from hell?
Did you no?
Man, I love that movie too.
I love
though.
that
Matt,
movie
is it
too, yeah.
subtitled or is it? Did you see like a translated?
No, you have to watch it subtitled.
Okay, and
but it's really good, and it's not too long.
Yeah.
And once again, it's very hard to really capture the feel of Lovecraft. And I think sometimes what people get hung up on is they keep trying to translate these stories in a way of what they think is scary about them. And it's not. I mean, Lovecraft creates a sense of dread from the very beginning.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so there's like a certain interpretation of a story loosely, or it's more directly.
It plays it pretty straight. It sticks
That's
to the
cool.
story pretty well.
Because of what
Except
you and
it's
I,
in Germany.
You and I,
It's
no,
not in-
You and I, we've talked about Lovecraft and stuff, and so this is the first one that I think that I'm really going to go out of my way to check out now because
It's very
you
cool.
recommend it, and I'm not familiar with it.
And I think it's relatively easy to find online. You can go on Amazon, and I think that there is a DVD available, or you can download it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very good.
And okay, now
It's no Die Monster Die.
All right, I'm going to put it to you.
Yeah.
But it is better than The Curse.
I was just going to say that one too with Will Wheaton and Claude Akins.
Yes.
Yeah,
Whoa!
yeah.
Will
Produced
Wheaton?
by Lucio Fulci, I believe.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in 1987. It was
Yes,
like
it is better than the Curse.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
So
yeah,
is
same
the-
idea basically.
So the curse is not one we're talking about. Then we're
No.
just mentioning it.
Yes.
Right.
Because Courtney, I have a feeling you have something under your jacket there. We're gonna pull out your sleeve. What do you got?
My,
Lovecraft.
Take off your pants.
No. Come on.
Oh, are we continuing on the
Lovecraft,
Lovecraftian
yeah.
If you want, sure, or whatever.
thread? Oh, gee whiz. Well, that's well, I don't know how obscure anymore is Dunwich Horror, because that is not a movie that is particularly revisited very frequently.
No.
And I don't quite understand why. I think it's because people think it's too psychedelic and too much of its time when it was made. Of course, it's directed by Daniel Haller, and this was after he had done Die Monster Die. And
Dean Stockwell.
Sandra Dee.
Sandra
Sandra
Dee.
Dee.
And one of the interesting footnotes to this is it was the very last movie poster ever painted by Reynold Brown.
wow.
He quit.
I mentioned him on our Shag episode. Like he did lots of
right,
classic
yeah.
Universal.
he was
yeah.
stunning.
Yeah.
But he decided he thought it was in bad taste. It was of course that
Really?
poster is the
Oh,
demon
yeah, well, you- almost
having
topless
sex
Sandra
with a
Dee.
girl,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Sandra Dee on top of this throne.
Yeah, yeah.
And he thought, nope. I don't want to go any further than
Really?
this. Yes.
The movie
After he
is-
had painted, nearly nude Allison Hayes a zillion times,
Right, and a 50-foot woman,
tossing
yeah.
cars around and all that
Right.
wonderful stuff. But yes. And,
But that movie, Dunwich Horror, it is
I
dated.
want to like it.
Yeah, but it has it has Sam Jaffe, Lloyd Bachner, Talia Shire. I mean, it has
Talia
a pretty
Shire?
amazing cast. in it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
But now we're getting into like Larry territory where it's like, well, it's got a lot of really great actors in it.
Well, no, but I mean, it has a great, great
you're
music
saying
score
this.
too.
No, and I'm going, oh, that sounds interesting.
But it is more kind of in, if you will, it would be almost a companion piece. It's to Gordon Hessler's Murders in the Rue Morgue. It's kind of where American International was at that time. And
Sure.
they had gone back to Poe and Lovecraft and all of these authors so many times during the 1960s. And now, okay, the water was draining out of the tub.
Right,
Yes.
and it was the '60s. It was more like they wanted to start going to a younger generation. And
That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
In the original Dunwich Horror, Wilbur Whately is a monstrosity. And
He's not Dean Stockwell.
in the book,
Right.
in the book,
book.
Matt.
Right,
Okay, in
right.
the original
in the
story.
original
In the story, yeah.
he is a
Right.
monstrosity. Now, I'm not saying that Dean Stockwell is the most handsome man, but I wouldn't call him a monstrosity. And
Right,
that's the
right.
thing is with that movie, what bothered me so much is that it's like somebody said, let's take the Dunwich Horror and remove the horror.
Yes.
So it's really Dunwich.
It was more like counterculture kind of. It was psychedelic. It was very much
Yeah.
like that.
Let's turn it into an average night gallery.
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I can
that
see what
gallery.
you mean. Yeah,
But a little more on the Jack Laird side than
Yes.
than the Rod Serling.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are
But
you,
of course, Pickman's Model, and
Now that is
Ooh,
that is
love
a
that
good
one.
one.
that was a good, and Cool Air was also done on
That's
that
right.
gallery.
That's
Yes.
a good one too. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that ties into my next mention,
whoa.
which is Dark Intruder from 1960,
Yes.
yes.
That's a good one.
which was
Good
produced
pick.
by Jack Laird.
That's right.
And it was a pilot for a TV series that was going to be called Black Cloak that never got picked up.
And they released it theatrically then, right?
They
I think?
did on a double bill with William.
White Cloak.
No, with William Castle's "I Saw What You Did."
Was it, or was it the
I
Nightwalker?
like that movie.
I thought it was the Nightwalker.
It depends. I guess it depends on what you know.
Okay.
Because it
yeah.
also did the running time on Darkened is odd. It's like 62 minutes or
Not
something.
even.
Right?
Yeah, it's like
not even.
59
It's like
minutes.
an hour TV show.
Yeah, and
Right.
it looks like a TV show. I mean, you could tell it was shot on the Universal lot. It takes place in San Francisco in 1890.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
And Leslie Nielsen plays a playboy sleuth and occult expert
Yeah.
who has an assistant named Nicola, who is a little person, kind of a creepy little person. And the tie-in to Lovecraft is that he mentions Dagon and
wow.
and a couple of other Lovecraftian characters that it's very unusual. Again, this was 1965
Just
for
kind
a
of
TV
throws
pilot.
away the references, or
Well, he mentions them in the context of the monster that he's seeking.
Okay.
Who is he's working-
supposedly like in the same pantheon.
right.
Okay. And isn't the monster played by Warner Klemperer?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
No.
In makeup, in
Yeah,
full makeup.
heavy makeup.
Yeah,
Heavy
yeah.
Mr.
Lovecraft.
But
Colonel Clink from Hogan's
Yes,
Heroes.
yes, yeah.
He was a buddy of yours, Matt, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Okay, I have a Werner Klemperer story.
Go for it. You have to
You
now.
have
Yes,
to.
I do.
Yeah,
Okay.
Matt has a great story with him, but please.
Well, this is a rather innocent one, but it's very sweet. I was in New York with my mother. I was probably about 10 years old, and we were having dinner at Sardi's when the place was completely empty because everybody was at their shows, and Werner Klemperer came into the restaurant with two women and decided to sit with us.
Decide to sit with you?
Yes. So Werner Klemperer sing, and I by the way, I mentioned "Kiss Them for Me," a movie he did with Cary Grant and Jane Mansfield, and he was like, I had forgotten about Operation Eichmann. I was trying to, I was 10 years old.
So this is-
What's the movie where he's in East Berlin?
Yes.
He's helping people out of East Berlin.
Yes.
But
What's
this-
that one?
Wait, you were 10 years old and you're mentioning these movies?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's-
I'm impressed.
Yes.
he never forgot you.
But he took a fancy to my mom and just decided to have dinner with us.
To have a third woman.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey.
So he's just going across town, just picking up mothers.
Yes, I guess so. But one of the ladies he was with, this was all very sophisticated, said, "Waiter, bring me a glass of water. I want to slash my wrists." I'll never forget that. I was like, wow, boy, we're really...
Now this-
Conversation going that well, was it?
yeah.
Now,
that
this
was-
is before Hogan's Heroes then, right?
No, this would have been
This would be
after.
after.
Oh, after.
Yeah,
after.
70s.
Wow.
Or probably, well, that would have been about 1970, I guess. So I
Okay.
think, was Hogan still on the air then, wasn't it?
Oh, maybe.
Like-
Or just
like
it's like his last season
Yeah,
or something.
yeah, probably.
So,
Wow.
did you watch Hogan's Heroes as a kid?
I did. It was never a big favorite of mine, quite honestly.
It wasn't until
'cause-
later I appreciate it.
Yeah, I
think.
was always, well, this is cool, but I was much more Rat Patrol and Garrison's Gorillas. I was,
yeah.
See, our parents didn't want us to watch it. They thought, they were
Hogan's
making fun.
Heroes?
Yeah, they
Wow.
felt, my parents felt, they're very anti-war, which is
so-
something to be respected,
Oh, no.
but
so
it's
that, so that
they
chalk,
thought,
that chalk line went back even more. for
well,
that show.
yeah, they thought it was making fun of the POWs. So, and I respected it, but
But it wasn't. It was making fun of the Germans.
I know, but every once
It's
in a
called
while,
satire.
yes, okay. So maybe that's why I have a problem, Matt. Maybe that's. But it's like when I'm at a friend's house and my friend Darren was huge, fan of that show. And so I would watch it at his house, but and I felt like I'm watching something forbidden, and he didn't have a line drawn on his rug either.
and little did you, by watching Bob Crane, in a way you were.
That's right.
Life imitates art.
Yes,
imitates
indeed,
life.
yes.
Wow. Good story though. Good story.
Thank you, yes.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, who's next? Larry?
Oh, is it my
Go.
turn?
Yes.
Okay, so
This is Bugs Bunny meets the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, really? Is that really a cartoon that was out
I
there?
wish it was. But no.
Yeah, yes, but that does not exist, does
No,
it,
it does
Sean?
not. It does not. I
No.
swear it doesn't.
No, so now I'm gonna bring up a film that is probably of all the films on my list, that's probably maybe the more well known, but I think in the world of horror,
Generally.
I think it's kind of an obscure film. Maybe not the most obscure on this list, but I do remember when I first heard about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know this, and it's possibly because it's a 3D film. It's not the most famous 3D film. And the star of it was Richard Carlson. Richard Carlson did Creature from the Black Lagoon. It came from outer space. These are the big films. But there was a smaller film that he did that was done in 3D, which is kind of, I think, an obscure film, and it's called The Maze.
Directed by William Cameron Menzies.
Yes, yes. And the cool thing, I really don't want to give the whole story away, but the basis of it is,
A maze?
well, there's something that perhaps likes to live in the maze.
Ooh, that's
yes.
good.
Now,
So, like
now,
Children of the Corn-esque
no,
before?
no. Get that out of your mind.
Okay.
It's no Children of the Corn.
But I mean, like a good version. Like,
Hear
Okay.
me out. Hear me out. So Richard Carlson is engaged. I have a lot of cool information about this film, but Richard Carlson is engaged, and he's gonna get married, and he's got my life is gonna be great. I got this beautiful woman. Then all of a sudden, he gets this letter from like an uncle from way back when, and it says he has this mysterious letter. It says, "You must come. Something's happened here at the mansion that we own." And so he goes, "Oh my gosh, I got to go and I got to leave."
It's like in the Scottish Highlands. or
Yes,
something,
yes,
right?
yes. And he leaves, and oh my gosh, the fiance goes, "Oh my gosh, he's like vanished. He's gone, he's like vanished for good." And so she kind of has to track him down because now he's gone for months and months. She finally tracks him down in this big mansion in Scotland or whatever, and she goes to see him, and he never wanted her to come. But now he's kind of grayish and he's kind of old, and there's this mystery about this big mansion. And outside this mansion is a mysterious maze. Ooh. Now, without going into too much detail, because I'm sure, please, let's not give away this incredible ending. But there is something mysterious about something that lives in this maze. And Richard Carlson's character kind of has to take care of the situation. And I saw this for the first time in 3D at the Egyptian Theater when they had their big 3D film
Wow.
festival.
Yeah.
And Courtney, I went in having no freaking clue about what I was going to see. Joe Dante spoke at the beginning of the film, and some people had poked fun of it. It's like, look, it's a low budget 3D film, the effects aren't the greatest, or look, for what the filmmakers did to make this film was just amazing. And Joe Dante said, "I really like this maze. Please don't give it away. The ending is just going to blow you away." And of course, at the end of the film, it's just, I didn't expect what was to happen. But what's really, really cool about this film is, at the time, the 3D cameras at the time, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I was told that they were created by companies that when they loaned them out to the studios, and they actually had to, studio, when they did a film, they had to pay a percentage of the profits that would come in to the camera company. And the guys who are doing the maze wanted to say, okay, we want to do some 3D, and it just cost us too much. And the cinematographer says, "You know what? I think I can make our own 3D camera." And he did. He designed and built, and it was a little wonky because not all the 3D stuff works 100%, and there's some kind of angles that seem a little off. But they built his own camera, and they shot it, the whole thing, with this camera that they built. And the studio actually used it for other 3D films. And again, for a low-budget film, shot in black and white with Richard Carlson, most of the money went to get Richard Carlson, basically.
I'm sure. Yep.
But it's a really kind of cool, creepy film that is really fun, and I've really enjoyed it.
Well, and also I think we should mention that, of course, this is the same director as Invaders from Mars.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And was primarily a art director of astonishing accomplishment, including Gone with the Wind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, yes, he knew his way around quite well. And in fact, also, if anyone, now that Fox has released it on DVD, to see Shandu the Magician, which Menzies also directed.
Oh, yeah.
The first one, which has
Is that the one
real
with Bela
budget.
Lugosi?
That's the one with Lugosi and Edmund Lowe. But this is the one where he plays Roxor, where he's the bad guy.
okay,
and
right,
it's,
right.
Yeah, it's visually just a total feast, as is The Maze,
Yeah.
as was Invaders from
It
Mars.
is
Again,
very,
it-
very-
He had an amazing eye.
And again, I want to point out, look, this is The Maze. It's not something like It Came from Outer Space or Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's a smaller budget, but it's
very atmospheric.
But it's neat. It's fun if you go in just you want a popcorn movie and
I don't think it's been officially released on DVD or Blu-ray yet. Amazingly,
no, it hasn't. And so any chance I get to see it, if it goes to 3D Film Festival, I'll check it out. But it's such a fun.
Do you
film.
know what the Maze always kind of semi reminds me of, although it doesn't have the alien in it, is the Man from Planet X. There's a lot of I think
like on the
visual
moors
similarities,
and
yes, and lots of fog. And,
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah, but I like lots of fun. And a goofy thing is, the maze, when they're trying to film the maze, there's like a model, the maze looks really big. But as the people are walking through the maze, it's kind of like, there's one shot and people walk by a bush. Well, then they just change the bush around and make, but again, it's
worked for Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah, it was creative filmmaking, and I got to hand it to them for their own 3D camera and just the ingenuity that they had.
I want to see this.
Film. Yeah,
yeah,
film.
it's a fun one. It's a good one.
All right, man. There we go.
All right, I'm going to go now into the 80s. This was kind of around the time of the slasher boom, and I think this movie was kind of like sometimes pigeonholed as a slasher, but it's not really. It's a much more bizarre and creative film. This is 1982. It's under two different titles. The best title is Butcher, Baker, Nightmare Maker.
Butcher, Baker, Nightmare Maker.
The other very generic, lame title is Night Warning. And this is a movie with the great Susan Tyrrell, Jimmy McNichol, Bo Svensson.
Jimmy McNichol?
Bo Svensson and Julia Duffy, and a very young Bill Paxton.
Oh. Really?
Yes.
And it's basically this kind of like crazy, twisted psycho thriller film with Jimmy McNichol's parents are killed in an auto accident. Their brakes give out when he's like 3 years old, and so his aunt Susan Tyrrell has to kind of raise him. And so then it's like years later now he's teenage Jimmy McNichol, and his aunt, played by Susan Tyrrell, is a little too close to him. She really likes Jimmy. They live in this big house all alone, and she wants nothing but to stay at home and live with Jimmy. But he's up for a basketball scholarship. He might be leaving for college. She doesn't want him to go. He starts to have a thing with Julia Duffy, his girlfriend. That doesn't bode well with the aunt. And it's basically this kind of just twisted psycho thriller with Susan Tyrrell steals the show. She's fantastic in it. Bo Svensson plays the most like horrible, like mean-spirited, sexist, homophobic cop ever. He's great.
Always good.
Yeah, Julie Duffy's really cute and topless in the movie. But Susan Tyrrell is just great, and it's really good. It's at times shockingly violent and just great. She gives this really over the top performance that is just really good. It's kind of an overlooked film. It's directed by
from the director of Beach Blanket Bingo. So we should.
Oh my God, William Asher.
William Asher.
Oh my God. Yeah. In fact,
Do you want to mention that, or the fact that he was married to Elizabeth Montgomery, which is the greater
oh my gosh,
accomplishment? Yeah, of
See,
course.
I knew you'd have some little
Yes,
tidbit
of
like
course.
that.
Elizabeth Montgomery.
And William Asher did
Yeah, he produced Bewitched and
my
directed.
God.
Right.
Yeah,
and this is like early 80s, and William Asher also did like a lot of TV.
Tons.
And he didn't do. I know he did some of the beach movies, but he didn't do too many movies. I think it was mostly TV.
It was.
right?
He directed almost all of the beach films.
Oh, okay.
And when he started doing that, and of course Bewitched was so successful,
Yeah.
and he
Right.
and Elizabeth Montgomery, they own the show.
Yeah.
Right.
But when he did this movie, and I said, my God, how did, because I know his son a little bit. He's a very nice guy. And I said, how in the world do your dad end up making, so he wanted to do something that was so different from what he had done
is,
before.
yeah.
And he said, these kids today, they seem to like horror and stuff like that. So that's
And you could
They
tell.
do. They do.
Yeah.
And you could tell, like watching the like he's flexing his like it's twisted and gory and it's really dark but funny too. I mean, Susan Tyrrell is just so great in it.
And what's the
it's-
date on it, Sean? I'm
It's
sorry.
1982.
82.
And it is available now. I think Code Red put it out on DVD, and it's really good. If you want like just a kind of refreshing, different kind of early 80s horror that's not a slasher. I mean, it has slasher elements, but it's not like a typical slasher movie at all.
Sounds great.
Yeah, Jimmy McNichol's great in it, and it's really good. Definitely check it out.
So far, I want to see every single one of these movies. I really do. Yeah.
All right, Matt Weinhold.
Okay, well, this movie was brought up not too long ago, but it is on my list. And you guys brought up kind of a lesser known William Castle movie that I really enjoy. And not a lot of people talk about it, but the movie is The Night Walker.
The Night Walker.
Yeah,
The Night Walker, and it's I think it's one of the last movies with Barbara Stanwyck.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Vic Mizzy, right?
Vic Mizzy. Oh, the man behind so many
Great
classic
Close to Mr.
things.
Chicken, baby.
Yeah, Green Acres.
Absolutely.
Adam's
Sure.
Family.
Adam's Family, yeah. I mean, such a great theme. And it's so creepy because it puts me in that mood immediately.
Well, the thing was with Night Walker was it did not do well. And Castle was very frank about that because he said, well, he thought that reteaming, of course, with Robert Taylor, who had been married to Barbara Stanwyck.
Oh, right. So they were...
her ex-husband. And he said, wow, this is, he was still considered a very signature star. But the film didn't do it. And you had the wonderful Reynold Brown half sheet, that great demon. And that wonderful opening with the fist with the eye in it that really doesn't have anything to do with anything.
Yeah.
But, and the superb makeup on Hayden Rourke.
Yeah,
Hayden Rourke.
Dr. Bellows from Idea Machine.
Yes, yeah. And that's what I love about it. And so, the basic story is you've got this woman who her husband, Hayden Rourke, is this scientist that's always working in this lab that's almost like a bunker. And he's blind. And he's very suspicious about her and very jealous. And she has this family attorney, and it's Robert Taylor. And there's a flirtation going on there. But she, for the most part, is pretty faithful. She hasn't done anything yet. But she keeps having these dreams. She has these dreams of a dream lover that she keeps hooking up with or connecting with.
Yes, Lloyd Bachner.
Yeah.
Right.
Who is billed as the Dream.
The Dream. That's right.
Yes. Lloyd Bachner as the Dream.
He is born. Yes, he's credited.
That's the way he's always billed in my dream.
Yeah. And there's even a wedding.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
And you're right, Courtney, in that this was kind of, for this film, the gimmick was Taylor and Stanwyck together.
Absolutely,
William Castle was known for his gimmicks, Emergo and all this stuff, and this one
That was just casting.
You just thought, well, the casting of these two people will be the gimmick, and it really didn't help the movie.
And written by Robert Bloch.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's very cool, and I think it's underrated because
it is.
because it does play around a lot with. I mean, the general theme is dreams. And you go into Barbara Stanwyck's dreams, and she also has a dream of the night when, at one point, her husband, Hayden Rourke, there's an accident in the lab, and he's killed. But then she starts having these dreams where he comes out of the lab, and he's completely disfigured, and he's so scary.
The eyes. Fogged up eyes.
Yeah. The fogged up eyes. I
And you hear the clicking of his cane.
Yes.
Against
Yeah.
the wall. Yes, as he's walking around. Yes.
And is it maybe the best William Castle film? I don't know, but I think it's definitely worthy.
Yeah,
It's because, Matt, I have not seen this one. I mean, I've seen a bunch of the Castle films, but I haven't seen this.
See, Courtney Joyner, you're so right. If you don't walk away from that film humming that theme, then there's something wrong with you.
Okay, here's my Vic Mizzy story. And it did not happen to
So
me.
you're at Sardi's. He walks in, two women.
A friend of mine's, it was a friend of mine's friend. She was a very nice girl, was dating Vic Mizzy's son. And Vic Mizzy took her out to lunch and told her that if she didn't lose 20 pounds, his son was going to dump her.
Oh,
Wow.
There you go.
Do you say,
Did she lose the weight?
I didn't follow up on how that romance turned out.
Did he say it while humming a tune like, you better lose the weight?
The Vic Mizzy diet.
There you go, the Vic Mizzy diet.
Browbeat by Vic Mizzy.
Wow.
Well, is there more to the story, or is that it?
No, that's just it. It's just,
That's not enough
really a
for you?
story. It's just an anecdote.
I thought there was going to be more to it, and so she
she bludgeoned him to death.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Sorry.
Man,
With a cake pan.
you are so jaded.
What?
No, it's
you
just,
needed
just
more.
A little, just a little
just
footnote.
An inappropriate thing for a guy to say.
No, it's not inappropriate. No.
What?
See, Courtney Joyner has all kinds of stories, and all I get from this is this, well, blah, blah, blah.
No, I
you know?
mean Vic Mizzy was inappropriate,
Oh.
not C. Courtney Joyner
Yeah.
here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Who's next?
see, Courtney Joyner.
I guess I am.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to go ahead and unearth a whole bunch of movies that a couple of years ago, we kind of did a comparison test of monogram horror versus PRC horror.
Good.
And PRC won.
I have a PRC on my list. I wonder if it's going to be
Wait, what does that mean?
Well, the movies that PRC made, generally, of course, now we have to remember the monogram horror, the best Lugosi monogram horror really is The Human Monster. And of course, that was made outside the studio, shot in London, and for a lot more money than the films that he made here on the Sam Katzman.
I have it on
unit.
16 millimeter.
Yes, it's a
Great
great
movie.
movie.
And Monogram, just for listeners, like Monogram Studios was this very, very low budget movie studio that just churned out these programmer films, a lot of horror, mystery.
Tons of westerns. Of course, they bought the Charlie Chan series from Fox.
Right.
But the Lugosi unit, which was Sam Katzman's unit, which he ran with Jack Dietz, was even low budget by Monogram standards. The money went to Bela Lugosi. And there was very little left over. And we like The Invisible Ghost that Joseph H. Lewis. And I rather like Bowery at Midnight that Wallace Fox directed. And of course, all of these fell into the public domain at one time or another. But PRC's horror output, generally, there's some that were a little threadbare, but they tend to be better made. The music is certainly better. It's not just this canned stuff from the 1930s that was being recycled. And a couple of the movies I think really just ring the bell so well. One was probably on your is Strangler of the Swamp.
That's it.
Yeah.
Love that one.
It's tremendous. Frank Wisbar was a really talented director, and he also directed Devil Bat's Daughter.
And what's the premise of Strangler of the Swamp?
Yeah.
So,
Well, that really is
This is a cool little story.
It's a wonderful story, and it is Charles Middleton.
Right?
Yes. Basically, what would you say? Is he the guardian of
Well,
the...
he was a ferryman on the swampland, and he would like ferry people back and forth across the swamp, and he's basically wrongly accused of murder and hung
from the tree.
This
That's
tree,
right.
And there's this noose still on the tree, and there's this woman played by Rosemary LaPlanche, I
Right,
think,
who also was the Devil Bat's Daughter.
who comes into she kind of comes in because her grandfather. Basically, a lot of mysterious killings start happening after Charles Middleton's character, the ferryman, is killed. So they think there's this ghost. The ghost of this ferryman is exacting revenge on the town and the swamp residents because he was wrongly accused. And so Rosemary comes in to take over the job of ferrying the people across the swamp because her grandfather was doing it, but he was killed. And so she's, kind of starting to unravel the mystery. This kind of mysterious glowing ghost that appears in the swamp. And what's cool about the movie, I'm sure, is almost the entire film is done on the swamp set, this fog-shrouded swamp set.
That set, I believe, was actually built for Joan of Arc.
Oh, wow.
And that was kind of the secret that PRC had because they were in different studios. And towards the end, of course, PRC then became Eagle Lion, the home of Anthony Mann and...
PRC being People's Republic of China?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Producers Releasing Corporation. Okay.
Nothing's changed.
Yes.
Chinese own everything.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we're joking, right?
Oh, stop it. Will you stop?
I don't know what PRC.
Courtney said it straight, so
I don't know, Mr. Brainiac over here. I didn't know what
Brainiac.
I didn't know what it stood for.
People's Republic of China was...
They produced a budget horror film.
No, Matt, no.
Oh my God.
He said it was so convincing.
You are a delight.
I'm just,
Okay, so
come
anyway.
on. What is it again?
Yeah, Producers Releasing Corporation.
Thank you.
It was like Monogram Pictures, a very, very low budget.
Very low
movie
budget
studio.
outfit. It was really the home of Edgar G. Ulmer. Of course, he did Detour there.
Right.
And they did Sam Neufeld and his brother really were kind of the tent poles of the company grinding out these horrible Billy the Kid westerns with Buster Crabbe and things like that. Mm-hmm. But they were kind of all over the place. But the thing was, they had a leasing agreement, I believe it was a leasing agreement, with Sam Goldwyn. So they could go on to sets for Goldwyn films.
No.
That's why Devil Bat's Daughter looks the way it does.
Yeah, and Strangler.
And Strangler the Swamp looks just tremendously good. Now, they were in different rental studios around town, but this was when they were actually at the studio there on Santa Monica Boulevard, next to the Formosa.
Yeah.
That's where they were. And that's where Strangler was made. And it's tremendous. So Frank Whisper was just a wonderful director, and he went right into Devil Bat's Daughter, of course, which really has very little to do with the Bela Lugosi
Right.
film, which was the first PRC horror movie.
But the Whisper also, he was a German filmmaker, and I believe Strangler of the Swamp was a remake of his own German film.
German film.
right?
That's absolutely correct. And by the way, we should mention that the young hero is Blake Edwards.
Yep.
No.
Yes.
Yep. Blake Edwards
Absolutely,
acting
yeah.
Blake Edwards. Yeah.
It's really well photographed.
It's the kind of movie that like you
beau-
see at late night television, just so atmospheric.
It's so atmospheric and so beautifully done. And another PRC film. I've always had kind of a fondness for Dead Men Walk, which is the George Zucco.
Oh, that's a great one. I
playing
love that
Playing
one.
Twin
two
brothers. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
And that one's pretty good. It's a little threadbare, but it's pretty good. And Terry Morse, who of course directed the American sequences for Godzilla,
Yeah.
did a little mystery for PRC that's also great fun, and it pairs Lionel Atwill and George Zucco together, and that's Fog Island.
I like that one too.
Fog Island.
Fog Island, yes. And but the Monster Maker, which they did very early on, that was J. Carroll Nash and Ralph Morgan, is again, of course it does have a gorilla dancing around in a cage, but it really is a very creepy and very well made thriller, and the idea behind it is that J. Carroll Nash is in love with this girl. Her father, Ralph Morgan, completely objects to the romance. So J. Carroll Nash injects him with acromegalia.
Yeah, it's twisted.
It is
Yeah.
a very twisted
And the makeup's
movie.
pretty effective.
Yes.
too.
Did it win a Rondo Hatton Award?
Well, it should have, yes. And the makeup, by the way, was in fact created by the same artist who did Orson Welles' makeup for Citizen Kane.
Really?
wow.
Yes,
And,
Schneiderman.
Glenn Strange is also in Monster Maker too.
Yes, he is. Glenn Strange was in most of the PRC
Right.
film, usually playing George Zucco's henchmen in movies like The Black Raven and things like
right,
that,
right.
because they just did a lot of very quickie, haunted house type pictures and old dark house movies. But film to film, compared to what Monogram was doing along the same lines, frankly, the PRC films win it.
Yeah, they were definitely a little bit head and shoulders above.
Yes.
the other
And
ones.
these are all available on Alpha Video and places
Yeah.
like that, and in different qualitative states, of course. But I've actually never seen a bad print of Strangler of the Swamp. Every copy I've ever seen, even from like the worst outfit,
Yeah,
it looks terrific.
I think I have like a gray market DVD, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I like those.
Nice one.
Once again, I'm down for all of these movies.
Wow. You got it, man.
Okay, James.
Well,
Now, remember, horror obscura.
this is actually considered a cult classic, so you're going to argue with me about it being obscure, but I think
Okay.
I'm bringing it up because I think a lot of our listeners might not be that familiar with it.
No, that's
The
okay.
Exorcist.
Come on.
And because I don't think we've ever talked about this movie, but when Roger Corman finished shooting The Terror with Boris Karloff and Jack Nicholson, he had Karloff for another few days, and his assistant director, I guess, Peter Bogdanovich, was a budding filmmaker, so he told Bogdanovich, hey, you can take Karloff, work with him, use him for the amount of time we still have him, and go to town, make a movie.
Right.
Bogdanovich, on the spot, made a movie called Targets.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you're right. I think it's maybe in general circles may not be as well known.
In general, no.
Yeah.
No, I would say that's for a
And for
mass
young- for younger-
audience.
for younger
that's obscure.
generations.
But
yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's the theme. There's some stuff there's some violence that happened in real life.
Yeah,
that
what's the-
story
what's the
was
premise?
pulled
Yeah.
from, right?
Right, yeah.
still fresh, unfortunately.
Yeah, a shooter, a sniper going on the top of a tower and shooting people off.
It was at a
which I guess
college, right? There was a,
in real life.
in real life, yeah. And
And,
this,
Karloff
Charles-
plays like an aging horror star.
Basically playing himself.
Right. And he's really good, too.
And it's cross-cut with the story of this mentally unbalanced young man. And none of this is gothic. It all plays like very kind of mid to late 60s.
Right, it's very
Yeah.
contemporary.
Yeah.
suburban.
Yeah.
And it's the whole idea of like Karloff's generation is kind of falling by the wayside. The real
Yes.
horror is like in real
In
life.
real life,
horrors in your
yes.
backyard.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And it builds up to this amazing climax in a drive-in movie theater, and to
Where they're
think-
showing the terror.
where they're showing the terror. Yeah.
Right.
And to think about the circumstances that this movie was made and the budget, but the creativity that was put into it. It was just freaking genius. genius.
Okay, here I will give you a little Target's background.
Oh, yes,
I,
we
I
love
knew
it.
you'd have some
There you go.
background on this.
My father's best friend was a man named Harold Hayes, who was the editor of Esquire magazine. And he was also Peter Bogdanovich's editor when Bogdanovich was the film critic. And he gave Peter the idea of doing a movie about Charles Whitman, the sniper. Wow. And here was the thing. Bogdanovich was married to Polly, and when Roger, we have a few days with Boris Karloff. I think you need to find something for him to do before he goes back to England. So Bogdanovich originally, you remember, was going to do a movie about Boris Karloff stalking women in a supermarket.
Oh,
Wearing a horror mask and strangling them over the frozen food. And yes. And he said, well, yeah, Roger, well, that actually sounds very good. So anyway,
Sounds like a Libby Land TV dinner commercial.
Really, they didn't really like it. And Harold Hayes was here in Los Angeles, and they started discussing this. And the Charles Whitman killings, the sniper from Texas, were all over. He said, why don't you figure out a way to... And suddenly Bogdanov says, well, wait a minute. This is modern horror versus old horror.
Right.
And the horror, and that was actually... And I actually have a very sweet note from Peter Bogdanovich. And
Wow.
So yes, and that was actually what happened. It was just through a basis of conversations. Now, the sequence in the oil towers was very much, Bogdanovich loved all of his old director buddies and everything else. And of course, he discussed that with Raoul Walsh because of the ending of White Heat.
Right.
And also the shooting on the freeway. He sat down with Sam Fuller and asked him, okay, so he took this really seriously and just culled all this information and all of this stuff from, and of course, too, the wonderful moment in when Karloff and Bogdanovich wake up with the hangovers, the criminal code is on television, remember? And that's what they watch, and they talk about Howard Hawks.
wow.
That's right, in the hotel room, yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is interesting out of that. Those extra days they had with Karloff, they end up making this,
And it's so much better than... I mean, Terror is a good movie, but this is
But
just-
yeah.
Wait a minute. Could you clear this up for me? Because I thought that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the Terror was made because they had Boris Karloff on for a couple more days, and so they made that movie.
That's true. Also,
That's true,
after
yeah.
what was it?
The Raven.
The
It was
Raven.
the Raven,
Right,
yeah.
right.
And there's
So-
and I guess during that movie, is that the one where he gets the rushing water all
Yes,
over
that's
him?
where he got I think ill from being in the tank
and
of
so
water.
He has one movie that he signed on for. They give him another one, then they give him another one. I guess just to dry out.
It was
you know,
kind
but-
of this cycling thing that American International used to do. And of course, it drove Vincent Price crazy. That they would always, okay, one more and one more. Because remember, he did Crimson Cult.
right.
And
That was
of course,
really toward the end,
That was
right?
really towards the end. And of course, that's the movie where they said that really just did him in with his
Yeah.
emphysema. But then, of course, he did the 4 Jack Hill
Oh yeah,
movies.
this Mexican
Remember the
film.
Mexican
Yeah.
films.
We're
That's
talking
right.
about Boris Karloff.
Boris Karloff, yes.
My understanding is even all the way through, he didn't know he was dying, and he asked his agent, "So what's next? What's next?" And the agent said, "Oh, get some rest. We've got something for you in a couple of weeks." Karloff wanted to work.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
No, he's always said, I will
was like
die with
a-
my boots and my grease paint on.
Right. They get
And-
like the fear chamber.
That's
and
right. Incredible Invasion.
Sinister. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And the thing was, though, that Targets, it's interesting, is that Karloff's widow always considered that his final film. Because it was
Right.
the best movie
Right.
from that era.
Right.
Yes.
For all intents and
For all
purposes.
of it,
Yes.
yeah, it
Right.
really was. Yeah,
The
and she
official
always
Karloff.
referred to it as his final film, and
Right, that's true.
he went out on something so wonderful.
Yeah, that's a good. And you're right. It's not that should be better known. I think
It's
that
kind of
film,
hard to
because
believe
it's-
we've gone this long and have never brought it up.
I don't think we have.
No,
You're right.
I don't think
Yeah.
we
That's
have.
cool.
And it was released by Paramount.
Wow.
Now
right.
that I
Wow.
didn't. I
Yes.
thott, wow.
And then I think you can get on DVD. I think it's
Oh, yeah.
available.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
You know, we're gonna have to.
I do like that.
We're gonna have to do a Boris Karloff show. That's what we need to do.
I think we just did it.
No, we just touched. It's a kernel of his
Yeah,
career.
Okay.
But anyway, nice one.
So there we go. Oh, and of course, first victim in the phone booth, Mike Farrell.
Oh, my God. Really?
Yes.
Mike Farrell from MASH.
From MASH is
No
shot in the
way.
phone booth at the drive-in.
BJ
That's right.
Honeycutt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shot in a phone booth and still goes to Korea.
Yep.
You know,
No justice.
totally off topic about Mike Farrell.
Really obscure horror. Okay.
There's this Netflix series called The Crown. That's its latest obsession. A lot of people, it's very popular.
Yeah, it's very popular.
And this season they've got JFK played by the actor who played Dexter on Showtime. I
Okay.
can't remember his name.
Right.
And I was in a conversation about JFK actors, and Martin Sheen has played him. All these actors have played him. Mike Farrell played him in a one-man show that was on was videotaped on PBS back in the 70s, I want to say.
Wow.
And it was spot on. I mean, it was scary
Really?
how good he was
Wow.
as JFK. I don't know if this thing is available
Wow.
anywhere, but man,
Did he wear makeup?
I don't think he had to.
Is that
he
right?
just did his
Really?
hair a certain way, and he nailed it.
Interesting.
So,
and he is married to Shelley Fabaret. So let's, yeah, we got to give the guy some props for that. Absolutely, sure. Yeah.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
think it's the first time Shelley Fabaret or Mike Farrell have been mentioned on Monster Party.
That's
There
right.
you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, what has been mentioned plenty of
BJ.
times, what has been mentioned plenty of times
Yes.
on Monster Party is sex
Hey,
and alien sex.
I'm scared.
Okay.
Why am I
now-
scared?
Okay, now this is I'm going out on a limb here, okay? Now this it's more science fiction, but there's horror elements
Okay,
in it.
that's
Okay.
fine.
All right. All right.
Okay. All right. Now, this is not really well known unless you're a big fan of the animation community and know a very famous animator named Bill Plimpton.
Of course. Yeah.
Bill Plimpton is very famous.
Plimptons.
But yes, exactly. I say this. It's not like Walt Disney, but his stuff, he has a very distinct style of animation, and he does majority of the animation.
Bizarre
It's,
and hilarious.
bizarre and hilarious. Well, back in 2001, he had done this film that he created called Mutant Aliens. Now, yeah, Mutant Aliens.
Feature
it's-
film?
It is a feature film
Wow,
that
okay.
never really had wide release, and there's a reason why.
Okay.
Now, Bill is a very amazing, talented animator, but he's a bit sick and twisted, okay? And this story has to deal with, it's like there's this astronaut named Earl Jensen, and he's sent off into outer space, and he's gone for 20 years, and back on Earth, they're thinking, oh, man, he's probably dead. You know, we'll probably like leave him up there or whatever. Well, he comes back. He comes back to Earth with a bunch of these mutant aliens, basically to seek his revenge. Because, why, damn you, did you leave me out there? And the weird thing about it is where these creatures came from. Well, he basically has like sexual encounters with all these aliens, and they all develop these giant human appendages. It's disgusting and it's gross.
Sounds great.
It's so twisted as I'm watching this, and some of the sex scenes, I'm like, oh my god, this is repulsive because it's this
But you
astronaut
liked
in
it,
there.
huh?
Well, it's animated and it's you know what, Matt?
That helps.
No, Matt. The thing that you would love about it is it's comedy. It's like it's serious, it's sick, it's twisted, but it's hilarious. But because
George Plimpton is hilarious.
yes, but because
his stuff
of
is so
the-
great.
And I want to stress to listeners, this is not something you want to. This is not an animated cartoon. Hey, kids, let's watch it. No, it is. It is
Yeah.
very.
What are the
very-
songs like?
No. It's very, very adult. And the funny thing about it is, I've met Plimpton several times, and I'd seen his work. I had him autograph DVDs for me, but he was selling this one. It was new. They couldn't get a wide release or whatever. And I went, oh, Bill, is this your latest? He goes, oh, yeah. And I go, well, I love mutant aliens. And he goes, well, okay, Larry, this is for you. And he autographs it for me. And my wife and I sat home. We walked. We were like, oh, my God. It was really
The more you talk about this, now I want to see it.
yeah, it's in a way you could say it's a kind of a spoof of B monster films,
Right,
and
right.
it's with his own distinct animation style with the gratuitous sex and violence. So
Cool.
Perfect, yeah.
But again, I
All
bring it up-
boxes checked.
Yes, I bring it up because Plimpton he's actually an Academy Award winning animator. He
That's
did
right.
some stuff which is, like you said, hilarious.
Yeah,
And so-
deservedly so.
yeah, but this is just way out there, and you can go to his website and pick it up. But
Nice.
it's called Mutant Aliens from 2001, and again, I want to stress, it's got a lot of sick and twisted stuff. It is not for the light of
Sign-
heart.
sign me up.
And actually,
Yeah.
watch it after you've eaten, probably. So
All right.
It won't affect my appetite whatsoever.
There you go. So another animated film.
Great.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
All right,
Okay.
Johnny boy.
All right. I got one that I don't know if too many people know about this one, but
I'm guessing
it's
not.
pretty fun. Courtney, maybe you know about this one. It's from 1991. It's a film called Mom,
Mom.
and it's with Mark Thomas Miller, Gene Bates, Brian James, Mary McDonough from The Waltons, Stella Stevens, Claudia Christian. And this movie is
What was
basically...
the preview like?
I don't know if it was released theatrically. Maybe it went straight to DVD. I don't know. DVD, possibly. But this is kind of it's like a horror, kind of semi-comedy. Mark Thomas Miller is this TV newscaster, journalist, and he has this elderly mom that, she lives by herself. He goes over and takes care of. And she rents out a room to various boarders. And one of the boarders comes over. It's this kind of a strange kind of blind guy played by Brian James. And Brian James happens to be some kind of strange creature. It's never really specified what he is, whether he's a werewolf or a vampire or some kind of cannibalistic creature. And he bites the little lady, Jean Bates. So she now is turned into this thing. And basically she has this intense craving for human flesh. And she's also kind of super strong now. And she has freaky yellow eyes. So Mark Thomas Miller, he finds out about this and he has to kind of like keep her locked up. It's like, Mom, you gotta stop this. and she's like,
A little bit of Dead Alive there.
a little bit, yeah. It's like, so she keeps kind of escaping from the house and going and killing derelicts and hookers and eating them and putting them in garbage bags.
Sounds great.
And it's pretty fun, yeah. It's not like super over the top comedy. There's some gruesome stuff in it, but it's just the image of this kind of nice little old lady who's like, she's sitting knitting in the corner, but at night she gets the hunger and she has to go out and find these victims, and it all unravels because like her son, loses his job and like his wife doesn't know what's going on. But it's
What was
pretty,
the tagline?
I don't know.
You will see an old lady eat after 5 o'clock.
Yeah. But it's pretty fun. It's fun. Stella Stevens is like a hooker, and this is like when she was in her 50s, and she's still super hot.
Yeah.
Though.
Always.
Yeah, and Brian James is great. It's a fun one. It's not. I don't think it's that well known, but it's pretty good.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
so
just
check it out.
think maybe it didn't do well. I mean, just the title, Mom.
Yeah, but
How do you-
Well, you don't know what to expect.
Well,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
Mom.
Yeah, it
it's
could
like
be.
it's
Could be a
plucky,
happy thing, yeah.
I'd love
Yeah.
to see the preview for this, though. I'd love
That'd be
to
a
see-
better title now, I think.
Well, it's it's kind of like we had talked about this when we did our taglines thing. I mentioned Christine. The tagline for 1954 Plymouth Fury possessed by hell or something like that. Christine, and it just didn't sound right, And I just think this just sounds. This film,
Christine.
Yeah. Well, and then for this one,
Christine had
But
the
it
fact
had
that it was a
the-
book.
right.
It was Stephen King.
But
and-
this one,
Christine also had a superior tagline. How can you kill something that can't possibly be alive?
But
Oh, yeah,
this,
that's
but
true.
for
That's a good
the,
one.
but
Yeah.
okay, so that's good. But for this one,
Mom.
it's like
I don't know what the tagline was. Although there is a new movie just came out called Mom and Dad, which is supposlly like
I hear that's really
it's
good.
like- it's like
Is this the Nick
some
Cage
kind of-
one?
some kind of virus causes like all the parents to want to kill their children. Which sounds like an interesting concept.
I hear that that's good.
Yeah, so now, nowadays maybe Mom would be and I think you can get it like on one of those limited DVD-R pressings. You can get it. It is.
Oh, I
available.
thought you were going to say
Mom.
like 50 films for $3.99.
But I don't think many people know about it. So check it out.
Okay.
It's fun.
good
All
one,
right,
Sean.
Very good. I want to see all these movies.
Oh, hey, we're doing good then.
We are doing
Because
very
normally
well.
you go, well,
No.
Okay, all right.
I'm proud of all of you.
Well, things might change when you get back to me, but
Okay, here's one from 2015.
oh, recent.
2015. Recommended to me by our friend Ken Hanley.
Ken Hanley.
Who we used to hang out with in our Fangoria
He was Mr.
days.
Fangoria.
Yeah, love Ken Hanley.
Yes.
This is a 2015 film from Mexico
Okay.
called The Similars.
The Similars.
And
We started to watch it. We have to.
Is that right?
We just start. My wife and I think that was on. We started to watch it. We just kind of stepped away. We have to get back to. It's subtitled, right? It's like
subtitled. It's
Yeah.
very Twilight Zone.
Yeah, we
even
have to
the
check it
way.
out.
I mean, there's this nice verbose lead-in that's very much a person trying to do a Rod Serling impression,
yes.
introducing the story, and it's this hurricane hits, and all these people get stranded at this bus station. And they're all waiting for the bus to get them out. And they all have different reasons why they need to get out and why it's pressing on them. But the main character, the first guy who goes in there, he starts the chain of events. And what happens throughout the story is that for some reason, and for most of the film, we don't know why this is happening, but other people in the bus station start to change into looking like this first guy. So the first guy who comes in has this bearded face and just looks like a middle-aged guy. And women, men, everybody start to gradually turn into this guy. And they don't know why. And it's really great. And it's creepy. And that sounds like it could be silly. And there is some humor to it. But it's also the way that you see this transformation. It's practical effects. And it's very unnerving. And I loved it. And there's also a creepy kid, which I always love in a movie, who is, you wonder, is he the focal point of what's been going on? Because this kid has this weird condition where he has episodes, and you have to figure out how that kind of weaves into the story. But it's very creepy, very well shot. It's really just one set. It's this bus station.
Right.
And they really make the most of it. And once again, they know how to build dread. It's directed by Isaac Esban, and a superlative job
Cool. Okay.
of filmmaking. I really enjoyed it. And especially if you love Black Mirror,
Oh yes.
you'll like this.
New season
lot.
was really good.
So the film is The Similars.
The Similars.
Okay.
Similar.
Cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice one. A
Yeah.
contemporary one.
Contemporary one. And there's a lot of great contemporary ones that you'd be surprised what you can find on Netflix
Yeah.
if you dig a little
We've
bit.
been just discovering a few too.
Yeah.
Like a diamond in the rough. you know?
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Mr. C. Courtney Joyner.
Well, the mention of Stella Stevens completely threw my previous idea right out the window. Okay.
Way to go, Sean.
Neither one of these movies, I believe, is really readily available. Gosh, this was probably back in the early 70s, as I remember. Andrew J. Fenady and his brother George made a double feature.
a double feature.
Terror in the Wax Museum and Arnold.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Terror in the Wax Museum.
Terror in the Wax
That's
Museum,
one.
yes,
And
starring John Carradine. Butter Crawford did this one too. You psychopathic punks. You think you're running the thing. So Brad Crawford, John Carradine, Lewis Hayward, Elsa Lanchester,
Maurice Evans, like everybody.
Maurice Evans.
Maurice
Yes.
Evans.
And they shot both of these movies. Andy produced and wrote them, and his brother directed both. And they shot them back to back at Paramount during hiatus.
Okay. And the second film is
The second movie is Arnold, and that's the comedy. It's the dark
Yes.
comedy with
I like
Stella
that one.
Stevens marrying a corpse.
Yes.
I remember the trailer.
Yes.
Roddy McDowell, Victor
Roddy
Buono.
McDowell. That's right.
Everybody.
Victor Buono.
Oh my.
That's right.
It's fun.
And both these movies were produced by Bing Crosby's company,
Wow.
and neither is, I don't think, readily available. I think
No.
Terror might be, but I haven't seen Arnold available
no,
anywhere.
Like VHS. But
Let's
that's it, yeah.
let's give Catherine Grant Crosby a call. Maybe we
Yes.
can get down to this. I remember seeing the preview for Arnold. I remember this, Matt.
And
As a
Arnold
kid-
is good because it
I-
didn't
like,
seem like it would be good.
No, it's fun. I mean, it's in a very. It's a
I
little bit
saw this
forced.
double feature when I was 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
And it just suited my pistol. So I was,
okay.
yes, I was.
Put on your 12-year-old
It's
hat.
like,
Yes,
a black, like a
exactly.
black comedy whodunit.
Right.
You know, it's
Terror in the Wax Museum is a little bit of a slog, but it does feature Karkoff, the Hunchback.
Wow.
It's like a throwback to like a
Yeah.
50s movie almost.
Yeah, yes.
You know, it's kind of like, yeah. But
Yeah, it's closer to say when you think about Gothics, you kind of think more like the Black Castle or something.
Yeah.
It's a little
Yeah.
bit more on Terror in the Wax
yeah.
Museum than.
But yeah, it's like driving fair. I think.
I remember
It's-
Karkoff.
Yes, Karkoff. Yes.
Okay.
is waiting for
That's that's it.
So we
yes.
have to wear our-
with I believe Pat Boyette did the artwork. I think for that poster.
Really?
Yes.
So we have to wear our 12-year-old hat when we go and see.
You do have to find a 12-year-old hat.
You know what?
Either 12 years
No,
old
I'm
or
always-
one that a
yes.
12-year-old
I am
would wear.
always wearing my 12-year-old
Ooh,
hat.
This is
excuse me.
true.
No, this is something to go out. I said Pat Boyette. Actually, I believe now I'm going through the file in my brain. I think it was Gray Morrow. So if someone knows,
Wow,
yes.
an EC artist from
Yes, I believe Gray Morrow actually
Golden
did
Age.
that poster. Yes.
Those are good ones, though. I like both of those.
Boy, these are some good ones. Boy.
Well, speaking of hunchbacks, every so often,
It is Monster Party.
every so often I mention a Paul Naschy movie, And
Yes.
normal, you know, he's best known for playing a werewolf character, but one of his more interesting movies is called The Hunchback of the Morgue, and it's from 1973. And like almost all of his movies, they're Spanish exports, filmed in Spain. This one actually takes place in Germany for some reason. And Nashi plays a hunchback who works in a morgue. And what makes this one different, one of the things that makes this one different is that he's a lot more sympathetic. There's things in the story that make him more sympathetic in this one than the other monsters he's played. Because he's in love with a woman who's in the hospital and she's dying. And finally, you know, she does expire. And one of the things that makes him sympathetic also is that he's treated like shit by everybody in the town. So he's not necessarily the hero of the piece because he does do some villainous deeds, but he's treated so badly that you can't help but feel some empathy for him. And there is a more evil character in the form of a mad doctor who's creating a monster. And the monster can best be described as a walking pile of shit because the thing actually looks like a blob of shit.
Wow.
How do they achieve this?
Only top-notch effects that Spain could handle at the time. But this was like, I guess if you have to see one non-werewolf Nashi
Yeah, it's
movie,
very atmospheric, though.
It's atmospheric.
you know,
Terrible musical score.
but gory, and there's naked
Gory,
women.
There's a
and
lot of naked. There's a lot of sex,
of course.
And
Does
again,
the hunchback get any?
yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
He does.
There's hunchback
First of all,
sex.
Is it consensual?
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very, yeah.
If,
All right.
if it's a Paul Nashi movie, Paul Nashi, I think it's got to be. It must have been in his contract.
Yeah.
He
Is it
always
his
had
writer?
sex with the hottest chicks in his movies. I mean, every one of his movies. Whether he's a vampire, a mummy, whatever it was.
And this one, it's really hard to believe because he's really grotesque in this.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
you know, again, you know, the Nashi werewolf movies where he plays Count Daninsky in most of them are wonderful. But
But he's played every classic monster, actually. He's
Yeah.
played the
Yes,
mummy,
the
he's
Mummy,
played
right.
werewolf, I mean, he's played
zombies,
Dracula, yeah.
But this one is a little bit more interesting, and so I recommend it for its own merits. Like a lot of these Euro 70s monster movies, it can be pretty slow going, and it
Yeah,
is
you
low
have to
budget.
be-
But if you think you might be interested in catching a random Paul Nashi movie, I do recommend that
Yeah,
one.
that's
Hunchback
not
of the
bad.
Morgue from 73.
Did he write this one?
You did say sex with hunchback, so
Yes.
he was probably at least a co-writer, right?
Yes, he would write stuff under Jacinto Molina. That was like his
Yeah,
his
yeah.
screenwriter
There you
name.
go.
So he
That was
wrote,
his hunchback name.
Yes.
So there you go.
Good one.
Hey.
Wow. That's nice.
Hey.
Well, this one, this the main,
Hunchbacks?
well, this,
Sell it, man. Sell it.
okay, Clubfoot.
Hey.
Not so much Hunchback.
No, but it's in the.
Wait a minute. You have one with a club foot in your movie?
I think so.
Wow. No, that's impressive.
I like that.
we went from hunchback to clubfoot. I think that's fantastic.
Okay,
I gotta have a hook hand next.
Yeah, okay. Again,
Cauliflower ear.
again. Look, talk about horror obscura. Look, this is kind of on the fringe. It's another animated thing that I want to tell
Wow,
you
you're
guys
into the
about.
animation.
Well, here's the
No,
thing.
I love
no,
this.
No, it's partially because, like Sean, like I said, you're like Mr. Yoda movie guy. You know a lot of these
He's
obscure
Mr.
movies, and I'm like Joe.
You're Joe, regular guy. Yeah.
But it's
That's
like,
when I think of you. I think of you as just like ordinary Joe America,
yeah,
man.
but it's like but my thing, like my especially in college, was animation. I saw a ton
Right,
of
okay.
animation
Okay, go
stuff,
for it.
and I went to a
Skippy the club-footed clown. That's the name of the movie.
no. But there is skipping, and there is a club foot in it. Okay,
Okay.
So just bear with me here. Okay, I want to bring up a film that you guys can actually, and listeners can check this out on YouTube. I saw this animation short. It's about 8 to 10 minutes long. It's really, really unique. It's really, really cool. The animator is a guy named Gavrilo Natovic. It's a short film.
Rusky?
No. Now, bear with me here. The film, it's in English, but there's not a lot of talking in it. And when you watch it, you can watch it like you don't actually need the dialogue.
Right.
Because what happens in it, everything is done by looks, by manners, and by the music. The story is, it's this really interesting story. The film is called Lazar, Lazar, from 1987. This guy who animated it, he did the majority of the animation. He worked on it for almost 7 years before it was released in 1987. And I saw this at a film festival, an animation film festival, and the people just went nuts for it because this guy did majority of the animation himself. It is cell animation. He does try to take some liberties here and there, but it is beautiful, classic cell animation. And so Lazar's the story of it's this disgruntled guy everyone lives in this world that's surrounded by a giant wall. This fearless leader has created this giant wall around this society. And this main
Attack on Titan, maybe?
well,
kind of a
no,
thing?
no, not that. Not I know where you're going there, but not that. But anyway, everyone in this society has to conform, has to go with the norm, has to go with what the head president or ruler says.
Okay.
And this one character, this Lazar, is angry and speaks out against it, and he's thrown into prison for years and years and years. Now, this prologue here, it's told in a very short manner of time. What happens is, the majority of the film is, he's released. He's released from prison.
Right.
And he basically kind of goes nuts. And to kind of punish him, they put this giant metal boot on his foot. So
Okay.
he's always to run. It's like really difficult for him to run. It's kind of like a hobble. And he kind of has like this giant club foot.
On one foot.
On one foot. But he's so angry, he decides to try to escape this giant wall. This wall that has persecuted everyone inside of it. Basically, it's like the disgruntled man who he fights for the constraints and barriers of this protected walled in society. Now, the music that's used it's this Vivaldi piece, and once you hear it, you'll know the music. I forget that I should have written this down. I forget the piece that they used.
It goes like dun.
No.
How about like
dun 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 dun.
Yeah, okay, of course.
And it's
yes.
and you're just going with this guy trying to escape from this wall, and it's really, really cool. And it builds and it builds and it builds. Finally, when you get to the end, oh
Of
God,
what's beyond the wall?
It's just, it gives me chills as to, I don't want to spoil it
Yeah.
for you, but it's all within a matter of like 8 minutes or so, and it's something that you could watch
Was this-
on YouTube.
And where'd you see it?
I saw this at an animation film festival in
Okay.
San Francisco back in '87.
Was this
Okay.
like this win some awards or something? Was
It was nominated. I think it might have been nominated for an Academy Award. It didn't win,
Right, okay.
but it was like the guy who made it. This was like his. Hey, I'm a big animator. This was his big thing that he'd been working on for such a long time. And
Right.
he went on to do a bunch of other stuff after this. But this was his like single piece that said, I'm an animator. And it's really cool. It's really unique. It's science fiction, fantasy, horror, but it's really, really cool. Again, it doesn't take long to watch, and I would recommend people check it out
sounds
on
interesting.
YouTube. It's called Lazar.
Sounds cool.
Or you just put a Lazar animated short film. So anyway, I think you guys would get a kick
We already
out of it.
found some shots from it, and it looks really neat.
The characters in it, they're all kind of bizarre looking long faces or they're giant oversized humans, and it's really, really cool.
Wow, interesting.
Nice.
Okay,
Alright, cool.
so
Yeah.
there you go.
Nice.
I like it.
All right, I have a contemporary one for you guys too.
Okay.
This is an odd one, but I really enjoyed it. This is from 2013. It's a crazy title. It's called Blood Glacier.
Ooh.
Blood Glacier.
Now this movie is like an Austrian-German film, and it's basically kind of like an homage to Carpenter's The Thing.
Okay.
And this is a really interesting movie. We found this kind of on Netflix, and it's this group of scientists in the Arctic, and they have this kind of station there they're working, and they're investigating like the climate change, and the melting glaciers, and they come across this one glacier. The whole side of it is all red. It looks like blood. It's like, what is this? And they take a sample of it, and they find out it's some kind of like organic substance. What had never seen this before. Maybe alien didn't even know. But what they find out is that it's a kind of mutating
Virus or something?
virus that. So all the wildlife in the area, there's like a wild fox that drinks the water from that glacier, and whatever it ate, it now mutates into like it's a fox insect thing.
Oh, neat.
And so like there's this mutant ram, and there's like this hawk, and it's crazy. It's crazy effects. Mostly practical effects.
Mostly.
And the thing is, like, some of it is not super great. Like you can see the limit of the budget. But it's very endearing. I still appreciated the fact that they were
going for it.
They just went for it, and it's basically these group of scientists are under siege by these mutant creatures, and they're starting to get affected, and it's great. And like the main guy. It's dubbed because it's in German, and the main guy like looks exactly like Kurt Russell in The Thing. You know, I mean, exactly the beard and the outfit. You know,
Wow.
but like, and his like ex-wife she's on a different expedition. She joins them. She's like, no, don't come here. There's something going on, and it's really cool. There's some humor in it too, but there's some like
Why don't they ever listen?
and there's some humor and there's some direct homages to both Carpenter's Thing and even Howard Hawks' Thing, and it's set all in the Arctic and the mountains, and it's really fun. Like I said, it's the effects are not super top notch, but I really appreciate it because they go all out. It's like all kinds of crazy monsters and bugs and insects, and it's really fun. I mean, like these German guys just loved The Thing, and they wanted to make their version of it. And
Why not?
It's really fun. And it's really different, and it's a great kind of bizarre, unique ending to it too. And there's a dog in it, just like in The Thing, and really cool. Check it out. It's called Blood Glacier, and I think it's available on Netflix.
Okay, well, I have one, and film people, I'm sure, know this movie.
Film people.
People who enjoy the film, your Turner Classic Movie folk.
Well, that's me.
Yeah,
Yes.
I like
hell
that.
yeah.
the rest of America, maybe not so much.
Okay.
But it's one that I don't see all that often even played on Turner Classic Movies.
Okay.
But it's one that stayed with me from the first time that I saw it.
Okay.
And it's from 1964, the year of my birth. And it's called Lady in a Cage.
Lady in a
yeah.
cage.
Olivia de Havilland, right?
Olivia de Havilland, James Caan.
I know this film.
Yeah, and it's like I think it was his first film.
Yes.
Very
yes.
close to it.
Yeah.
A young James
Very
Caan.
young James Caan, hungry and at his malevolent best.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
cool.
Oh, yes.
So great. And the story is there's a woman who had some like hip surgery and there's a power outage and she has this elevator that helps her get up and down.
Right.
And it looks like a cage.
Yeah, but it's
Right.
she has a few bucks, right?
She has some money. Yeah,
It's
she's
a
doing very
it's
well.
a nice place.
Yes. And so because of the power outage, she gets caught like in between floors.
Stuck, yeah.
And she's stuck in there. And through a series of events, these hoodlums find out.
Hooligans, yeah.
Yeah, the hooligans. You know what the hooligans
You can
are
tell
like.
by the windbreakers.
Yeah. Bad eggs to a man.
Yes.
And they find their way into the house and discover her. And so the rest of the movie is them just terrorizing her.
Yeah.
And it's claustrophobic. Again, I saw it as a kid the first time, but it made me really uncomfortable. And every little indignity that they do to Olivia de Havilland, I feel.
Yeah, because
right.
Olivia de Havilland, this is from, she's Gone with the Wind. She's royalty. She's Hollywood royalty.
Yeah.
Right,
and
right.
she's-
Adventures of Robin Hood.
And she's so sweet. And it's like when she's stuck in that cage, and at first it's like, oh, what do I do? Oh, goodness. You know, she
Yeah,
still has
she's
that
just-
prim and proper type thing
At
about
first, she's
her.
just trying to figure out how to get out of the cage.
Exactly.
But then you add James Caan.
ma-
First of all, you sprinkle James Caan into anything.
and his friends.
Bad things can happen.
See, the thing
Yes.
is, it's not just James Caan. It's
No, it's him and his gang.
Isn't Tisha Sterling one of the
Yes.
gang? Yes.
Oh, wow.
And I believe her mother is also in the film. Isn't Ann Southern?
Yes.
Southern
Ann
is-
Southern
yes,
is in it.
yes.
Yes.
you know, Matt.
And Jeff Corey.
Jeff Corey, and directed by Walter Grauman.
Oh, wow.
One of his few features.
I saw this film, Matt, as a kid, and it was disturbing to me. I mean, because I'm not a hooligan, and just to see those what they this wonderful lady. It's
I know
just,
this
it's-
nice,
it's-
Right.
likable lady.
Yeah,
Okay, she's got.
Adventures of Robin Hood, for
Yeah.
God's sake. The heiress,
Well,
I mean,
this was the movie, and I actually really enjoyed the feud. But when they did
I did
the
too.
Oh, yeah, I did.
recreation
I didn't-
of this particular trailer, they did a horrible job.
Oh, really?
They did such a brilliant job on the Straitjacket trailer
Yeah.
recreation. That
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Hey,
But this, they did not do very well.
hey, they
And-
only had so much money. Okay,
Yeah, I know.
Come on, cut
I
some
feel
slack,
bad.
Mr.
Yeah,
Filmmaker
yes,
over
I
there.
am. But this of course was the movie that Olivia de Havilland had just finished when she got the call to do Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte because Joan Crawford had been fired.
Yes.
And Betty Davis asked her to please
yeah.
come and
Because this
to
is at the height of
Louisiana. That's
Yeah.
right. And of course, the true shock of seeing Olivia, clobber Agnes Moorehead with
Yeah.
that chair. You
Yeah.
know.
And you have to admit though, she's fantastic in that movie.
Oh, I
And
love
Hush
her.
Hush Sweet Charlotte.
I
She's that's
I love her in that
fantastic, and it's such a shame. It would have been interesting to see some of that footage that was shot
Oh, I
of
know.
Joan
Yeah,
Crawford
yeah.
in Hush Hush Sweet
And actually,
Charlotte.
look, have I ever done my Joseph Cotton for you?
Oh no.
Okay. From Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte. I'm sorry, I can't.
No,
help it.
please.
Okay. Of course, weaving baskets never cured anybody, but it's terribly therapeutic.
Very nice.
Oh, thank you.
Very nice. Well, Matt,
TCM Rich Little.
Matt, I want to tell you that's a great movie.
Yeah, really,
It really is a good movie.
And what was the date on it, Matt?
1964.
64. And it holds up, man.
I watched it
yeah.
recently, and I was still gripped.
Yeah.
Yes, and to see Tisha Sterling, I mean, she was so young when she did this, and it's not too dissimilar from what she does in Coogan's Bluff.
Oh.
Yes,
yeah.
Don Stroud's little psycho girlfriend leading Clint around by
was
his
nice, though, to
nether
see
regions.
Olivia de Havilland, and that she had some more shades in her.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this has been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we could. I mean, I know we could go on and on.
And we should probably do maybe just one last little kind of a lightning round.
couple more, throw out there.
Well, you probably can rattle
I can
off
do
like
50
20.
more.
I know. Look,
I have a half left.
Some of us haven't seen as many as you, Mr. Movie Yoda.
No,
So
okay. Well, which way are we gonna go?
Well, how about this?
Let's
Let's
go the
do
same
one
way.
more. Let's
Do
go
we
one
think-
more.
okay.
Courtney, why don't you give us
Okay,
one?
well,
here?
yes, this not necessarily too obscure, but a really fine movie. Larry, you actually are the inspiration for me choosing this. Extraordinary Tales, which came out, I think, about 2-3 years ago, and it is animated,
I don't know this one.
and it is stories, Edgar Allan Poe, each done in a different style, and it is
Of animation.
really wonderful. It's one of the last things Christopher Lee did, and he narrates and does the voices for The Fall of House of Usher. And they did a wonderful thing, is that they used the old Bela Lugosi broadcast of Telltale Heart.
No.
And they animated that. And it's wonderful. And each episode is designed in a different way. They do Mask of the Red Death with Roger Corman actually supplying one of the voices. Yes, indeed.
Oh, my God.
This is really a fascinating movie, and it's an anthology. Done by an animator from Mexico, and it really, and some of it is computer, some of it is cell,
Yeah.
and each post story is done in a different style.
See, I
And
love that.
It's just
That is
wonderful.
Was this
cool.
theatrically released or?
It was supposed to be. I believe it got a very limited run just so it would then, qualify to,
Right. That's
get some
really
extra
cool.
juice in Redbox or what have you. But I
Right.
missed it theatrically, and I just grabbed the Blu-ray one day, and I was like, "Wowee!" And I've watched that Christopher Lee Fall of the House of Usher probably half a dozen times.
Man, I
easily.
gotta check
It's
it out.
really terrific.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, and the title of it again is
Extraordinary Tales.
Extraordinary Tales.
Cool. I definitely want to check it
Awesome.
out.
All right, James.
Well, if there are no objections, I'd like to discuss briefly a novel. Is that cool? A novel?
Yes.
2005, Bret Easton Ellis did a novel called Lunar Park, and it was pretty direct homage to Stephen King. Now, Ellis had done American Psycho, and he was famous for Less Than Zero before that. Lunar Park is in the first person, and he's basically writing as himself, as a character. And in the course of the story, he goes insane, and he believes his house is haunted, and in particular, his daughter's Furby doll. And
You know Furbies.
Furbies,
They were big.
which are creepy in and of themselves.
Right,
But-
exactly.
They
It's
can't. Yes.
specifically a Furby
Well,
doll, or
it's called a Turby.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Okay. Right. Okay.
yeah.
But that actually has a plot twist later on, where as a Turby, if you read it backwards, it's why Brett, and then that becomes and Brett is his character's name. So
Right.
But some of the passages concerning this Turby are among the creepiest I've ever read, and I've read a lot of Stephen King, and I do sort of recommend this if you've ever read Bret Easton Ellis, if you kind of like his shtick. It is genuinely creepy and unsettling, so I thought I should bring it up.
How long is it? How many pages?
How many words?
No, come on.
Pictures?
No, it's because it's like it is like
No.
over 1,000
No,
pages.
this is
Are
like-
the pages stain resistant?
This is like 300 pages. It's
okay.
not too bad.
So it was a quick read
So
for
no.
you?
It was a quick read, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Lunar Park.
Lunar Park.
Lunar
Okay.
Park, yeah.
Okay. Well, you don't mind if I bring up a film, do you?
No, please.
Okay. All right.
How dare you bring up a book?
Now,
Idiot.
Now, we have mentioned this film some time ago, but I'm going to bring it up because I don't think we went into a lot of detail about
Okay.
it. Okay.
You've earned it.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks. And this is, it's a live action film, Matt.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all right.
Hey, I was trying to shake it up a little bit. I gave you some
I
animation
like
loved
those.
stuff, you know.
I loved every one that you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is actually a French film from 1960. It was dubbed, it came out in the United States in 62. I'm talking about a film called Eyes Without a Face.
Oh, yes.
Now we have mentioned this briefly. We talked about
Kind
some
of famous.
Well, here's the thing. I understand what you're saying. How it's kind of famous. It's to you and to Mr. Movie
Right.
Yoda. You know,
To
you
film
guys are well
people,
known.
yes.
Yeah, to film
Yeah.
people, yes. But I think to the general audience, I don't think it is well known. Matt, I really
Probably not.
don't.
It is a movie that's been copied a lot, too.
It
That's
has.
true, yes.
So for listeners who don't know, I mean, it's a French film. So if you see it, typically it's subtitled. It was dubbed, but what's kind of cool about it is there's this doctor. I'd say a famous plastic surgeon whose daughter was had kind of her face ripped off, and
Can happen.
and so what he's trying to do is he has her wear this mask until he can find another face to put on her. What's really cool about this is when I was watching this for the first time, you know, this is from 1960. I didn't expect to see this, but the scientist actually gets women, brings them, knocks them out or whatever, and brings them to his lab, and he actually cuts their face off. And you think, oh, was it? No, what they show, it's like,
Terrific.
it's like
Yeah,
he
it's a very
takes
famous
a scalpel
kinda ghastly
and
scene.
it's like cutting the actual face off and lifting off the skin. And when I watched this, I'm like, whoa!
That's exactly how you go.
I was not expecting this for like a black and white film for
French.
but here's the funny thing. This is what I didn't know when I did a little research, and I know Joyner over here probably knows this. When the film was being made
You're Joyner
in
now.
France. No. The guys who were working on it, they were aware of what the European censors didn't like. And so what they tried to do is they tried to like balance this tightrope. So one of the things that they did is, so originally the scientist guy was kind of like a mad doctor. Well, they toned him down. Okay. It made him more scientific. And then as they eliminated that and they minimized the gore by eliminating some of the blood. And that way it passed the European censors, and the other way, and because of this mad scientist, it pleased the British censors. So they tried to do this thing where they were making everybody happy, but still, it's really cool and it's really graphic.
Yeah, it's definitely a shocking moment.
Yeah,
a very shocking ending.
yeah, and it is a very
Yes,
very
yes.
shocking ending. I don't want to give it away, but it's like follows this. How would you feel
Terrific.
if you had lost your face and then you find out your father is actually killing people to try to help you? I mean,
Right.
it's really. I think it's really well done.
Yeah, it's
I
very
think it's
the mask that she wears is very haunting.
it's
Yeah,
haunting,
very, very
and
so,
that's the thing, Matt.
Evocative.
That's what I think everyone has seen. They've seen
Right.
pictures, and it looks like a wax. It almost looks like a wax face
Yeah.
with these eye holes cut
like
out.
Female Michael Myers.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. But it's like the,
Action figure.
Hey.
Yeah.
How about
well, you
that?
could
Well,
remove her
the
face,
movie,
yeah.
of course, was released as the Horror Chamber of Dr. Faustus.
See, in
Right,
the
yeah.
United States.
in the United States,
Much better title.
on a double feature
Yes.
with The Manster.
Yes. Now, but
Wow, what a
but it's
double
like
feature.
But it's
Yes.
like people may not find it under that title.
That's
They
right.
Probably
Right.
find
Probably
it.
shouldn't.
No, and it's like Turner Classic Movies has actually played it.
Yes,
with
yes,
the
they have.
title of
Eyes Without a
Eyes Without a
Face.
Face. When they show the French version.
Well, and also one of the things too, and watching it, knowing its origins and when it was made, the fact that sadly, what they were taking from were concentration camp experiments. That was the inspiration for the whole thing.
Wow.
And when you understand that and you're watching, you can see it. The echoes, sadly, are absolutely, because that was 20 years before the movie was made. So
Yeah.
Right.
very fresh
Right.
in everyone's
Yes, yeah.
mind. Yes.
Right. Wow.
But still, I would recommend this film.
It's
It is-
wonderful.
and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would recommend the French
beautifully
version.
shot.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely. Yeah.
Also, even recommend a couple of the knockoffs.
Well, Adam Age
Vampire.
Vampire is really fun. Italian version of that movie, much more of a
Lurid.
tawdry kind
Yeah.
of, but still fun.
And didn't Jess Franco do Faceless?
Faceless,
Yes.
which is a crazy Franco film. Yeah. There's been a
Yes.
few. There's, I think, Face of Terror was like a Mexican or Spanish one, but yeah.
Okay,
there's
so
been a
look,
lot.
okay,
And
so Matt,
face,
maybe
where's my face?
Okay, so maybe not
did
as
you do with my
obscure as
face?
some of the others, Matt, but I think
Yes.
for general audiences, I think it's not as well known.
Sure.
Okay?
Right.
Yes.
All right?
No, we're still good.
All right. Sean.
All right, I'm going to throw out two for you right here.
Oh, God damn it.
One is this. I don't think many people know about this one. Okay, so we all know Burt I. Gordon.
Yes,
Right? Okay.
Burt I.
Amazing
Gordon.
Colossal Man.
Yes. One of my
Food
favorites.
of the Gods. But he made some films
Village of the
into-
Giants?
Village of the Giants. Into the 80s, though, he made some witchcraft films, some occult films. He made this kind of lesser-known film from 1989 called Satan's Princess.
Satan's Princess?
Princess.
I don't know this.
It was kind of like cop thriller, erotic thriller, and occult horror all mixed together. Robert Forster, the great Robert Forster, is this
yes.
burnt out cop who's looking for this missing girl, and he kind of runs afoul of this gorgeous French model who runs like a modeling agency, who, of course, is like a succubus or something.
Succubus.
Of course.
So it's kind of like him, and she's trying to possess him, and she's this kind of demon. And so it's exactly that. It's a mixture of like cop investigative crime film and a sexy erotic thriller and lots of like witchcraft stuff too.
Sounds
So,
good.
so necromancy meets the Mad Bomber.
Yeah, the Mad Bomber is
Wow.
another one that he did. Yeah, Lydie Denier is the French actress who plays the model, and she's naked a lot, and she's really super hot.
Sensing a theme.
Jack
your
Carter.
list.
Jack Carter's in it. Wow. It's pretty crazy, but it's pretty good. I don't think it's on DVD yet, but seek it out on VHS.
Okay.
The other one I want to have,
VHS?
yes, if you can.
Okay.
All right.
There's another one from 1991. This is a really strange one, but a really fun one. It's called The Boneyard.
The
guys heard about this
Boneyard.
one?
I think I've
yes.
heard the title.
Okay, so this is directed by a guy named James Cummins, who I think was like a effects artist, and this is maybe his first directing debut. This movie, it's kind of an under siege movie where it's a cast of characters are trapped in a morgue, the Boneyard, and there's these kind of demonic, kind of like ghoul children who are after them, and it's a crazy
Matt's
movie,
nightmare.
but basically, yeah.
Aren't they all ghoul children?
Yes, but it's the cast is really interesting. Ed Nelson is this cop who enlists the aid of this psychic. You know, like how you have the psychics who help police
Find,
Yes,
yeah, where the
yes.
missing person
so
is. Yeah.
she's the main character, and what's really interesting about the movie is this psychic, the person playing this character, very, very overweight and not the most attractive woman, but she's this very interesting character who like
And
doesn't
she's
want-
the lead.
She's the lead,
Wow.
and Ed Nelson, the cop, wants her to help him in this one case because like just mysterious disappearances, and she doesn't want to do it because like she hates actually doing it because she sees all the horror and stuff when she's having these hallucinations, and she senses, she touches objects of the victims, and it's just a very traumatic thing for her, but she does it, and it's just interesting that you have this kind of a character as a main character, and so she and Ed Nelson get trapped in the morgue with these demonic children are after them, and the morgue is run by Norman Fell with a ponytail, and
That's all I need, right? there.
And here you go.
and it gets better, Phyllis Diller as Miss Poopenplatz.
Okay.
That's her name.
Wait, is
You
she
almost
like
had
comic
me.
relief
No, well,
or is
she's
she
almost
straight?
had me.
No, I'm telling you, it's great. And I believe this is the only film Phyllis Diller ever did where she has her real hair.
No.
She doesn't have that wig. Yeah, and she
Wait,
plays
that was
it,
a wig?
yes. But so it's kind of, there's some comedy, but it's mostly done straight. And because it was directed by an effects guy, these demonic, like these three Asian children who are like, have these kind of skull face kind of ghouls. It's fantastic. They're really
You don't feed an Asian kid for a couple of weeks.
Right, yeah.
And it practical effects is what we're saying.
It's really creepy. The effects are really good. The creatures are really effective, but it gets crazy. We're like a Dead Alive, how it gets in kind of crazy, like Big Daddy Roth type monsters.
Yeah.
That's what happens in this movie.
Really?
I don't want to give stuff away, but it's a kind of a tour de force with effects, and it's a really interesting movie. I think it came out just on straight to DVD.
Fango did an enormous amount of coverage on this movie.
Did they?
They did. During shooting and its release and all that stuff. And doesn't Phyllis Diller have a poodle?
She does.
Yes.
And the poodle turns into something at some point.
does.
Wow.
Yes.
So I'm telling you,
That
it's
makes me want to
Poodle
see it.
wearing a wig.
yeah. No, it's. I don't know. Like I said, I don't think many people know about this film.
No, I didn't
it is
know.
on DVD on like a very obscure little label, but it's worth checking out. There's some comedy. It's very offbeat, but the cast is great and it's really fun.
Boneyard.
Yeah, the Boneyard.
The Boneyard.
1991.
91.
So check it out.
Nice ones, Sean. Those
Yeah.
are good.
Yep.
All right, Matt.
Okay, well, I have two, and these will go very quickly.
All
First
right.
one is one from 2012, and it's called Found.
Found.
It's a film directed by Scott Skirmer, and it is about two brothers. The older brother is kind of difficult, seems just like your regular, difficult, troubled teenager. The younger brother feels like there's something off with his brother, and he looks into his bowling bag, the older brother's bowling bag, and finds a human head. Yes.
no.
And realizes that his brother is a serial killer.
No.
But he doesn't tell anyone. And so the story is really about whether the younger brother is going to go down the same path as his older brother.
Right.
And it's done very well. The brothers, Gavin Brown and Ethan Philbeck, are excellent.
Is it
And
done straight or
It
is
is done very straight.
Okay.
Deadly serious.
Right. Okay.
But really good. And then, if we're talking really obscure,
Yeah.
an episode of Ultra Q. Now, Ultra Q was the precursor to the Ultraman series,
I love Alter Q.
and it was done kind of like a Twilight Zone, Outer Limits,
Or an X-Files even.
or
kind of.
X-Files. Yeah, very much X-Files.
Black and white.
Black and white with giant monsters. There was a team of investigators who would go and check out whatever was going on in the area, and it would turn out to be a giant monster or strange phenomena. So there's one episode that is a beautiful example of mixing the special effects of Ultra Q with gothic horror, and it was an episode called Baron Spider. And the story
Baron
is
Spider.
Baron Spider. And so the Ultra Q team are actually kind of not on duty, and after coming home from a party, they get lost, and they find their way to this house, and they find out that the house, it's deserted, first of all, but it used to be owned by this guy who did a lot of experiments on spiders. And he had a poisonous spider that bit his daughter, and she died. And then he ended up dying, and they both become reincarnated as giant spiders. And so, and it's so you've got the old dark house, beautiful lighting and cinematography, and these, E.G. Tsuburaya spiders
Right.
that are, that they're big fake spiders, but they're surprisingly effective in how creepy they are.
Are they like Spiga type?
They're about they're like the size of a cow. They're not that huge.
Yeah.
But that's kind of creepy though.
But they are creepy,
that's
and then
really
like
cool.
you never know where they are. Like at one point, one of the guys goes looking for some supplies in the house, and he comes upon a wine cellar, and he brings up wine. But then you've got the spider right above his head, and he doesn't quite know how close to death he got. And then there's this nice buildup, but then when the spiders come out, it's all out spider mayhem to the point where
mayhem.
they have to hightail it in their car as the spiders are coming after them.
Cool.
And it's really cool. And for that type of show, the way that it's shot, someone definitely saw a lot of the Corman Poe films because it really, or any kind of old dark
Haunted house
movie,
yeah.
they really captured that feel. And it's a super fun episode.
Now, is anyone here like really afraid of spiders? When you see spiders, you go,
I am
because like my daughter or my wife, they see a spider, it's like they have to get me. They
Yeah,
have to take care of the spider.
Just to interject, because I just want to throw this out because you
Go
just
for
mentioned that there is one other film on my list, a film from 1976 called Kiss of the Tarantula.
Oh, yes.
And This is a cool little like drive-in movie, you know, cheaply made, but basically it's just like this creepy girl who loves spiders, and she gets back at all her enemies, you know, by sicking her tarantulas on them. But the thing about this movie is like, it's really the actors covered in spider, like crawling over their faces. I mean,
Wow.
it's like tarantula porn. It's like, I mean, it's just all over them. And like there's a guy who's working an aqueduct. He's like in a ventilator shaft trying to fix something, and she lets the spiders loose, and he's stuck in there. There's a couple making out in a drive-in, and they're in their car, and the spiders are all over them. It's like if you don't like spiders, this is not the movie for you.
Yes,
Sean, I want to show.
Tony Franciosa is in that film, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm not sure. The guy looks just like him.
Okay.
I think it's.
Does he play a spider?
Well, of course. I mean, for that, you just can't beat Kingdom of the Spiders.
Yes, true. I mean, Kingdom of Spiders is more a little bit bigger budget, bigger cast.
Although, I do feel sorry for those spiders because the
Yeah.
spider wrangler was not too careful with them.
That's
And
true.
You can
No,
see
they-
a lot of spiders getting run
Squish.
over.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Absolutely.
Is the thing about.
Well, come on. They're going up against Bill Shatner and Woody Strode. Sorry, man. You're taking your chances.
but that's true. Like spiders.
They
don't
knew what they
bother
were
me.
getting into.
Yeah, yeah, but it's
They're
true.
extras.
Yeah, but like,
They were promised $100 in lunch.
but like when I watch this kind of movies too, like spiders don't really creep me out. Like it's fun to watch
Yeah.
these spider movies, but that's what I always think of too. Like when the actors got the spiders on them, like, oh wait, don't roll over, you're gonna squish
Yeah.
the spider. Like
The
I'm always
spider
worried about the
is
spiders.
the most terrified creature in that whole
Yeah,
So,
story.
yeah.
Sean, what's the name of the film again?
Kiss of the Tarantula,
Kiss
1976.
Kiss of the Tarantula.
And it's like, you know, the girl's got like a creepy uncle who's coming on to her, so she kills him. Like it's just basically, it's kind of like Carrie or Jennifer or Stanley
Willard.
with tarantulas. But I don't think it's as well known. It's a fun one.
But I think we can all say, you know, we need spiders in our environment because
Yes.
spiders
Yes.
do a lot of good.
Of
they
course.
they
Sure.
They
you know
do.
get insects.
Absolutely.
They get a
and,
bad
you know,
rap.
Yeah, they do.
they
do.
kill our enemies.
Look, I just think spiders do get a bad rap. So, you know,
Yes.
for our listeners, if you see the spider out there, you know, try to put it in a cup or something and let it loose
Yeah,
outside.
don't
That's what I
smack it.
try
Yeah.
to do.
Ah,
True.
me too.
You know?
Me too.
Yeah.
Take
Yeah.
care of our eight-legged friends.
You know, it's funny,
everyone.
that and crickets. Sometimes a cricket will get in the house.
No,
and-
crickets, they got to die.
No. See,
No,
the funny
that's bad luck to
yeah,
kill
it's
a
bad.
cricket.
You know what's
Is it?
funny? You know,
Yes.
a cricket.
What if you eat
Lord,
them?
A
yes.
cricket came into the house, and my daughter, my wife freaked out, and I captured the cricket, and I said, "Guys, it's like Jiminy Cricket, you know." And it's like, "No, kill it, Daddy." Again, I said, "No, but if he's singing to us, he's, when you wish." but I saved the cricket. I put him in a cup, and I released him outside.
And then you watched the beginning of the end.
I was going to say, yes. Yes.
Why are crickets?
yes.
Why are killing crickets?
Everything
bad luck?
comes back to Bird-Eye
Jiminy
Gordon, doesn't it?
Cricket.
Yes.
Somehow.
Jiminy Cricket,
No,
your
but
conscience.
Is there like an old folk tale of that you shouldn't kill a cricket because it's bad luck?
No, I just always heard that it
Yeah,
was bad luck.
you know,
I've
there's
never heard that.
look the great classic, the cricket on the hearth, you know, and Jiminy Cricket. We have famous crickets in movies today.
There's the game.
I have
cricket.
a beginning of the end anecdote, a
Oh,
quickie.
I got to hear that one.
Look, we've come this far.
Yes. Okay. Peter
beginning of the end, 50s, giant grasshopper
giant grasshoppers
crickets.
attacking Chicago, photographs of Chicago. And, Peter Graves still a little bit annoyed because when they were making the
'Cause he's in
movie, yes, exactly. Bird-Eye Gordon wanted him to dye his hair brown so he would look more like Ronald Reagan.
No.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why though?
Well, Reagan was a popular movie star at the time, and
Yeah, the
Huh. Interesting.
win-win for
Yep.
the Skipper, you know. And,
that's
Wow.
it.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like
So
that.
Is that
there you
it?
go. That's it. That's
was the
more.
story.
You know, John Agar got mad at Bird-Eye Gordon because he made him miss his bowling night one night when they were shooting Attack of the Puppet People.
Wow. That would piss me off.
See, I love these stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nice.
I liked when I met John Agar, and he's pretty old at the time, and I said, "Oh, Mr. Agar, so pleasure nice to meet you." And he goes, "Oh, thank you." And he put John Agar, God bless. And I'm all, couldn't you put beware of the creature or something? You gotta put. But-
Look, he was close to the end.
Yes.
I'm sure that's what he was thinking. Please, God bless.
It was the beginning of the end right there.
Beginning of the end. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, this has been great,
This is terrific.
Courtney. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
being with
thank
us.
you for
thank
coming
you
again.
so much.
Come back
Yeah.
again soon.
Obscura Incorporated.
Yes,
Yes,
you are.
we could definitely do 5 more of these with you.
Oh yeah.
But
Now tell
here's
us-
some
yeah.
things that should not be obscure, and that is
Yes.
what you would like to plug.
Yes.
There's this great book.
Well, yes, Nemo Rising.
Nemo Rising.
Just coming out. And since this goes with our conversation, one of the reviewers dubbed me the king of kaiju steampunk torture porn because of this. So
cool.
Oh my god!
I have no idea exactly what that means, but you have to be king of something, and that's what I am.
Nice.
He's got 100 more readers for that book.
Yes, I hope so. Yes, that just came out from Tor, and actually at the same time, I'm still writing the Shotgun Western series for Pinnacle Books, and they're both
Nice.
all over the place in Walmart and Kmart and.
You
Nemo
brought us some
is-
nice copies, too.
Yes,
Oh,
thank
thank
you
you
so
very
much.
much.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
Nemo is there at Barnes and Noble and Powell's and good Lord, just every place. And so we're very, very pleased with its rollout. It's
Nice.
doing quite well.
Awesome.
Any DVD commentaries? on the rise?
Oh yes, in fact, I'm doing. I just did Broken Arrow. And then this morning, Sheriff of Fractured Jaw with Jane Mansfield and Kenneth
Oh,
Moore,
wow.
directed by Raoul Walsh. But upcoming, we have. I'm on camera for Raw Deal from Classic Flicks, the Anthony Mann.
Not the Arnold
film noir.
Schwarzenegger.
No,
Not- yeah.
no, Dennis O'Keefe and Claire Trevor. A little bit, and then also I'm in a new documentary that's going to be in the Mystery Science Theater set I did with Dan Griffith, who just does such a great job. And this is about Herbert L. Strock and is accompanying
Oh.
the release of The Crawling Hand.
Nice.
Wow.
Awesome.
So yeah,
You're a
So-
busy guy.
So that's neat. Oh, gee, you get to yak about movies, and they don't pay you, and yes, you're doing very well.
All right. Awesome.
Yes. Tonight I got Chinese food, by the way. So yeah,
Yeah, and drinks.
and
drinks.
Diet Pepsi.
Right.
Yes, so
All right.
I'm very, very happy.
We know how to party.
yes.
We're the Monster Party.
We are the Monster Party.
Yeah.
Time for a listener shout out.
Woohoo!
This message came to us on Facebook.
Oh, my
Facebook.
God.
All right.
That's in the news.
Hi, I just wanted to tell you how amazing I think you guys are.
Aw.
Now, I may not listen to your podcast.
What?
I hear so much about it.
Hey.
I seriously can't get through a day without my husband, Travis Sutton, mentioning something that he heard from a recent podcast.
Hey.
We can have a simple conversation, but somehow Monster Party is always mentioned.
Uh-huh.
I might have to start listening myself.
Yes.
All right.
If you want to save your marriage.
But in the meantime, just wanted to give you a shout out to all of you for making the Monster Kid happy.
Aw.
Thanks from a very talkative Monster Kid's wife.
Aw,
That comes from Courtney Sutton.
All right, Courtney. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
she's-
Courtney.
And Travis is right. You gotta listen to Monster Party.
Yes, you do.
You know, Courtney, I will say, you know, my sisters, they're not big science fiction, fantasy, horror fans, but they love listening to the show because they feel like they get informed about stuff.
Right.
And like my younger sister, she puts it on while she's cleaning and stuff, and she says, "You guys make me laugh, and I learned a lot of stuff." So yeah, you should start listening.
You have a smart husband there.
Yes, you do.
Yes,
And
indeed.
she is a great wife because even though this might not initially be her cup of tea,
Right,
she's,
right.
you know, encouraged him.
Yeah, and she's
We're
engaged.
saving marriages.
We are.
Oh,
we are.
Monster Party, doing some good.
Doing good in the world.
Also, a very special shout out
Very
to
special.
artist Cody Scheibe from Austin, Texas.
Cody
Right.
Shiny,
Cody.
you rock my world, buddy.
Oh my
Cody
gosh.
surprised us this week with
Definitely.
an original art piece
Original art.
that includes our likenesses, our very good likenesses.
Very good likenesses.
And
Of
it,
Amazing.
sort of
kind of like a mutant thing kind of
Yeah, very-
creation.
Like the show, like the movie Society.
yeah. It's like society with our faces
Yeah.
sticking out of like orifices.
It's so
Yeah.
it's
Awesome.
so
It's
cool. I was
amazing.
blown away.
yeah, it's great.
Mound of goo.
and he said, well, this was just something I sort of scribbled, like it was a
Oh my God,
throwaway.
scribble
yeah,
more.
It's like fantastic.
Cody, I think that took you a little while because
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you. No,
awesome.
really wonderful.
You can check out that piece on our Facebook page.
Yes.
And you can also check out Cody's artwork on his
Yes.
website, which is www.codyscheibe.com, CODYSCHIBI.com.
Check it out. He's a really incredibly talented artist.
Thanks so much, Cody.
And if I could do a little special add-on shout out to a friend of mine, a friend of yours, and a friend of the show, Dana Gould.
Hey.
Dana
Yes.
Gould's show Stand Against Evil
Stand against evil.
has been renewed for a third season.
No way.
Yes.
They
Woo.
made it.
Great
They
show.
made it.
3 seasons.
Yeah.
His
It
third
really-
season.
third
Wow.
season.
I actually, I think I like the second season even better than the first. I mean, it's
I love it.
so good. It's
Yeah,
just
it's
great.
so good.
Great show.
Fantastic.
And so great work, Dana.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Also want to give a shout out to 2 listeners who purchased the Monster Party cap.
All
Wait a
right.
minute. Two?
Two.
They're flying off the shelves.
Kenneth Caslis from Brea, California.
Kenneth Caslin.
All right.
Kenneth is into robots.
Who isn't?
We like robots.
Wait,
Stars-
robots and what?
and Star Trek, but particularly
Cool.
Star Trek: The Motion Picture, judging by his Facebook.
No, that's great. That's cool.
He also-
Kenneth, do you have the Enterprise from 1979? Do you have? Mine is
bet he
still mint.
does.
Mine is still mint in
I'm
box.
sure it is.
And he also
Yeah.
seems to be a big fan of the movie Scrooge with Albert Finney, which
okay.
I'm a huge fan of. So
Cool.
we're
Yeah,
kindred
I like
spirits
that
there.
too.
Also to Fred Barringer from Monroe, Connecticut.
Fred
Cool.
Barringer.
As a recent listener, he's a graphic designer, a guitarist, humanist, and cosmology enthusiast.
I like
Hey.
all of those
Wow.
things.
Fred, welcome to the party. Thank you for buying the cap. You can find
Yes.
our cap at our eBay store, which is Monster Party Store. Easy to remember. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube at Monster Party TV, on Twitter at Monster Party HQ, and our Instagram handle is Monster Party HQ. If you're listening to us on iTunes, we'd love it if you take a moment and write a review. We'd love to hear from you.
We sure would. And we also want to give a special thanks to our sponsors at Creature Features. Hey! Creature Features, located at 2904 West Magnolia Boulevard in beautiful downtown Burbank, California. Taylor, Eric, and Matt, they have such a huge batch of stuff for all of your monster needs. And they have everything they have like toys and games, models, magazines, CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays, figurines, gum cards.
Obscure horror stuff.
Yes, they do. They do have obscure horror stuff, but they also have a beautiful art gallery which has every month a different gallery show. And I just want to point out we're in 2018 in March. They're going to have this great
It took you a second to think of the year.
retrospective, this night gallery
I
exhibit
can't wait
show
to see that.
retrospective.
I can't
and
wait.
we've talked about night gallery.
Oh, I love
I
it.
can't wait for the show. Check out
Yes,
their
we
website.
gotta check it out.
It'll
Yeah.
give you more information on it. You don't want to miss it.
It's
if
in
you're
March, right?
Yeah, it's in March 2018. You got to check out their website
Definitely.
to give you more information. You shouldn't miss this.
Yeah,
it's
it's
really,
gonna be
really
good.
exciting.
Nice.
Don't go in 2019.
No. I don't want to time.
Yeah.
You can always just check out their website, and it gives you updates as to what kind of events are coming up. They also have an eBay store at C Features. Great store. Check it out. Also want to give a special thanks to Time Tunnel Toys. Hey, Time Tunnel Toys, located at 1583 Meridian Avenue in San Jose, California. And Joe and Sharon, their store is so cool because it's filled with nothing but vintage toys, black velvet paintings. It's cool. It's got kitschy stuff. They've got records and magazines.
Lots
and
of old collectibles.
Yeah,
Lots
and
of
about
cool-
every 4 months they put together this toy convention. It's the San Jose Super Toy Comic and Collectible Show. And I just wanted to say, here we are. They're going to have a show in March. It's going to be the 3rd and 4th in 2018 at the San Jose Fairgrounds. Check out their website, Time Tunnel Toys, or you can go to the Super San Jose Super Toy Comic and Collectible Show for more information. It's a great event filled with tables of antique toys, vintage toys. It's awesome.
Go with a flatbed truck and just fill it up with stuff.
That's what I would do.
On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong!
Watch obscure horror films. We did, and look how well we're doing.
So, guys, I just want to let you know I have an addendum to put on our show, The World of Stephen King. Do you remember doing that?
Sure.
Yeah,
I do.
The World of Stephen
With
King.
Constantine Nasser.
Yes,
An
Nasser.
addendum.
Yeah, an addendum. And because what I wanted is I was pressuring him. I wanted him to tell me when the Blu-ray It was coming out. And remember, I was pestering him. He couldn't really tell us, but I wanted to let the people know that It is out.
Yes.
You can get it now on Blu-ray, and you can see the wonderful work that he did.
Yes,
So it is
absolutely.
out now. Go and get it. The Blu-ray of It.
Cool.
That's great.
Well, I've got another addendum.
Okay.
Now, I want you guys to
Sean
know, yes.
is an idiot.
No, Sean.
Going back
no,
to episode 1.
No. First of all, I want to say, for the record, you are not an idiot by any means. No, the reason why I
We're
get
all
irritated
kinda
with
idiots.
no, sometimes you're an idiot. But Sean, you are brilliant. You're brilliant, and your mind is filled with all kinds of
But
facts and stuff. No, it's all kinds of film facts and
Yeah,
stuff.
okay.
So it irritates me when you throw out something that's incorrect. That's all.
I
Okay.
did.
So-
But that's not what my addendum is all about.
Okay.
No, now my addendum has to do with. Do you remember we did a show called The Art of Monsters?
Sure.
With
Yes.
Shag. Do you
Yes,
remember that?
Of course.
And we were drinking, we were having a great time with Shag, and remember we were talking about artwork and stuff. And then I don't know if Shag was trying to trick me or something, because I had been drinking. But I had talked about this beautiful original piece of artwork I had with a little boy in a Godzilla costume. It was
The one
like
that
a
you had
Yes.
commissioned.
Well, no, the Godzilla one I purchased, and then it was the artist. Oh, I loved the work so much because it was a little boy in a Godzilla costume. It was Halloween, and behind him was this image of Godzilla.
Right,
And it's like
Yeah.
the little
and
boy.
this story remains fresh no matter how many times you tell it.
No, but there's a point to this.
All
There's
right.
a point. Okay,
The point is that somebody was wrong
Okay.
and not you.
All right.
No,
What-
because
what?
then I started talking about the creature, the creature thing. That I went to the artist. I said, I love this Godzilla. I'd like to hire you to do this creature one. Say like a little boy, make him look more like me,
Right.
and have him in a creature. Well, just listen to me.
Yeah. All right.
And
Okay.
so the artist said, of course, and he did this beautiful job. And then Shag goes, well, you don't want to mention his name because then everyone is going to want to, hire him or something. And the way he said it, I thought, oh, I shouldn't mention his name. And then I said, oh, I'm going to keep it to myself. And Matt said, oh, there he is. And I thought to myself as I listened to this, boy, I sound like an asshole. Why don't I want to say this artist's name? And so I
He's just
I want to
kidding
say
me.
his name now.
Say his
May I-
name.
May I
Please.
say
Say
his
his name.
name?
Yes.
Okay. Well, his name is Robert Negrete, and he is an amazing, talented artist. Robert Negrete, Negrete. If you Google him and put in Robert Negrete artist, it goes to his
You'll see all his
homepage,
stuff.
which shows all his stuff.
Cool.
Now, the funny thing is when you look at the images, I was trying to find the image of the picture that I had him do for me.
Right.
And there was just an outline, just a drawing. It wasn't the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to contact Robert and say, Robert, here, I want to give you these 2 photos so you can put it up there. Be proud. Because I'm going to contact Robert, and I'm going to have him do another little boy in a Halloween costume. I'm going to do a thing.
For which one? Like, what's the monster going to be?
Well, it's either going to be, I'm going to have him do a bunch, but I'm going to have
Okay.
him do like maybe a Frankenstein, a King Kong one.
awesome.
But it's like when you look at the costumes, those classic Ben Cooper costumes, that's what it is. It's a little boy wearing
Sure,
a Ben
yeah.
Cooper costume, and behind him is an image of,
Yeah, of the actual monster. That's cool.
And then the
Awesome.
second thing is one of my favorite artists that I forgot to mention, who paints with electricity. His name is David Archer, space painting artist. And again, if you Google him, there's a whole thing of him on YouTube. But David Archer, his work was featured on Star Trek: The Next Generation, and his primary medium is reverse glass painting. And it's a technique that consists of you apply the paint or pigment to the underside of a glass plate, then apply 1,000,000 volts of electricity generated from a Tesla coil to disperse the paint. And what's cool is it makes it look like a giant space nebula. So what he does is on glass, he does the nebula, then another piece of glass, he paints planets and stars. And so it's like 3 plates of
Right,
glass.
right.
I have an original piece that I got back in 1991.
Wow.
Cool.
And it was cool because it was at his gallery in San Rafael, and guess who happened to be there at the same time? Art Clokey, the creator of Gumby. Wow. And he autographed a Gumby and a Pokey for me.
Cool.
But the main things I want to say, David Archer, an amazing artist. You can still find, he's still alive, still painting stuff. You can check out his website,
Cool.
Dave Archer Space Paintings. You can check out his stuff. That's the addendum I wanted to give for our art show, Monsters Art.
As long as we have the opportunity, there's always going to be sins of omission. But one
Yes,
of our
I know.
listeners,
I thought about this too.
One of our listeners pointed out that we'd failed to mention Bernie Wrightson.
Yes, the great Bernie Wrightson, who passed away only recently.
Right.
Right. Of course, Wrightson was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, and he not only did amazing work, there was a beautiful, wasn't there a cold cast statue made of Frankenstein and
I think
Dr.
so.
Frankenstein?
His interpretation of Frankenstein is famous.
Is
Yeah, it was
really, really
based
cool.
on the artwork that he did. They're almost like engraving prints.
Right.
Engraved
Yeah.
prints.
Yeah.
And so there was a model that was created that really kind of mirrors that image. And it's amazing. And his work was amazing. And look,
So
we have
original, too.
there's so many great people, and we would have eventually we'd get around to discussing Bernie Wrightson, and I think we brought him up once or twice in the past.
Yeah.
But-
And look, we could easily do another Art of Monsters show at some point,
and I
too.
would love to,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of great artists out there, and we
Totally.
barely scratched the surface.
Well, it comes with the territory that at the end of the day, unless we kept talking for 24-hour sessions, we're going to
of
leave
course,
out
right?
somebody.
We're always going to
you know?
forget
And
somebody.
look, and the show is called Monster Party, not Monster Interview, and we're having cocktails, and we do have some notes here, but sometimes we
it's
get
not called
heated.
Monster Remembering.
No. But sometimes we'll just get on some tangent. We'll go into some stuff, but we do the best we can. It's still fun stuff.
Yeah.
It's entertaining,
Now, for me, it's always when I'm driving home, it's like, oh, I forgot to mention this. Damn.
Yeah.
which is
sure.
why I wanted to do this addendum for these things.
Very good.
Okay,
I like that.
I'm not
That's
going to
good.
make it a habit. I'm going to look. I'm not.
Okay,
I
because we
listen
can't.
to-
We really can't
I
go
know.
back to every episode.
No, I'm not going to go.
know what?
Episode 4.
Yeah.
Worst
I
monster.
forgot to
okay,
mention
yeah.
that my Aunt Shirley also
Yeah,
enjoyed this movie.
Exactly. So I'm not going to be doing that. But I just felt that these were important things.
That's
And-
perfectly
and you know what? And now
legitimate.
I can sleep now.
All right. Good.
And that was all very good information. And I'm glad that you, especially with the artists, that you
Yeah,
gave
yeah,
them
totally.
their props and that people know who they are. And they should be flocking to them to get art.
Yes, totally.
And now, what do you say we listen to some outtakes?
Hey.
Sounds good.
I think it's important that you're going to now do an addendum to every single show that we've done.
No, not to every show.
Episode 6.
No, I've
I
listened.
forgot to mention
No, it's just I feel very
the
passionate.
third toy on the left.
I
from
feel
the
very.
garage.
There are a couple. I always listen to our shows. Like several times.
Someone's got it.
Well, and I make notes. As to,
Okay, well, let's do that.
We're gonna give you a
afterwards.
shout-out.
Let's
yeah,
do it. Oh,
yeah. You're giving me a shout out.
Are you gonna do the shout out for the
Oh, sure,
the
yeah.
wife
Oh.
the wife of the guy? Why don't you just still do that?
You got
one
it?
too?
You got all your...
I have it if you want it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got 3 already, but we can always add one.
Okay, or save some of the more recent ones for later. Okay.
yeah.
I read that to my wife. My wife was thrilled.
It is very nice.
It is very nice. I think that's important, by the way.
It is.
All right,
I don't know who
let's do
these
that.
other guys are that you have, but that wife.
Aren't they all important?
That's right.
Well, yes, yes, they are.
alienating listeners before the show even starts.
From coast to coast.
Okay, now and
Never cease to surprise me.
Now, I just want to say one thing before this.
Really?
No, because Sean and Courtney, they're like, total Yoda movie guys.
Right.
So I take it you guys have a huge list.
I have a list.
Yeah.
All right,
I have a list. It's not as... It was on my computer. My computer
Crashed?
crapped out.
Okay.
And so I had to, from memory, recreate my list, and we might have to...
Well, here's the thing that gets me though, and Courtney, just bear with me here. When you say this is something that's obscure, or whatever, would it be something that you would want people to see? Like I was listening to other things when James was recommending like films that he didn't like, and I'm
But
thinking,
that's,
why?
that's
why are
James's
you-
way.
I
James has
have
his-
to qualify some of what I mentioned because not everything is a great movie.
I know, but
But it's interesting.
James,
It's interesting for other reasons. That's why I bring them.
Okay, well, I think scores with everybody here. There are some movies that you like that have either a scene
Flaws, yeah.
or a mood to it, and it might not be a great movie, but you would recommend seeing it, especially if you're a horror
just-
aficionado.
there's some aspect of it
But
that's
yeah, but
interesting.
I think there are limits. I under torture, I could not recommend Teenage Monster to anybody.
even under
despite-
torture.
That's a pretty
Yes,
bad one.
Under
Yeah.
torture.
despite the
And
fact that
that's a
Jack
horror
Pierce
western.
did the makeup. It sure
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
And it is awful.
I have it on DVD.
Oh my God! You know what? There's a new topic: films that you can't recommend even under torture.
All right.
There we
got
go.
it.
Yes.
Like I'd go, Showgirls. Well, that's not really horror. Actually, you.
Oh, I'd recommend Showgirls.
Showgirls is the
Yeah.
greatest.
24 hours a day.
Oh my god, that thing is hilarious. Yeah, I remember the minute she pulls out the knife.
It's within 30 seconds.
I'm like,
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this may be the greatest movie ever.
Hey.
Yeah.
I think my wife.
You're gonna end up selling it. Oh yeah.
No, I think my wife and I, we timed it or something. It's like right at that moment. I forget, it was less than a minute or something, but when the knife came out and Carrie and I we couldn't help it. We started to laugh.
I laughed my ass off, and I went, okay.
Yeah, but
I'm
Matt,
in.
But Matt, it wasn't like I was looking for the laugh. It just happened.
But isn't that the best kind of laugh? The
Yeah.
laugh that
Yes,
finds you, that
absolutely.
wakes you up?
and you go, are
Hey!
you kidding? What are we getting into?
One of the greatest film experiences
That's
of
right.
your life.
Whatever happened to Joe Esterhazy? He disappeared.
No, he moved back to Detroit, right?
Yeah, and he got-
or
he got-
Toledo. I can't remember.
He got very religious. I know that.
And
Supposedly, yeah.
he
had some
just
health
had
problems.
so much money. And the thing with Esterhaus, I mean, there was that point when, of course, he wrote Jagged Edge and
Basic Instinct.
Well, of course, that was kind of a variation.
Sliver. Didn't he write Sliver too?
He did write Sliver. Oh, did I tell you my cousin was okay? Here's a little gossipy.
No,
story.
I got to hear this.
Okay. My cousin Allison is the girl who gets thrown out of the window at the beginning of the movie who looks like Sharon Stone.
No.
Okay. So she's filming this thing, and she's there at the craft service table, and like this hand comes around her from behind to grab like the plastic bear of honey that's there.
Yes. The honey bear. Yes.
The honey bear.
We all know
yes,
what he
to-
looks
for
like.
some
Yes.
tea and everything. And she turns around and says, "Well, I'd pass it to you." And it was Tom Berenger, and he goes, "Oh Jesus, I thought you were Sharon."
Wow. That's funny.
Ah, good times.
Yes.
Oh, the things that honey makes happen.
Do you remember the title tune for
I want
the Mr. Magoo?
The director.
The
Oh,
famous
what? Of
Adventures
Color
of
Out
Mr.
of
Magoo?
Space?
You know, it didn't play it at the beginning of the Frankenstein one, but
If
I'm
you
sure.
saw it on TV, you'll remember this.
Oh, I'm sure. Isn't he starts driving on the car or something?
No, that was the original series.
Okay, so why don't you tell me? Was that
When
did
was
John
that
Williams
done?
do that?
No. But this was the famous Adventures of Mr. Magoo.
Okay,
And it was a very catchy tune. I was probably 6 years old, but it still sticks in my mind.
but I thought you were going to tell me, and the composer is
No, I don't actually know the composer.
okay. Look, I'm not going to jump all over you there, but normally you know that kind of stuff.
It was George Dunning. No, I don't know.
See, don't. Why do you do that?
It might have been George Dunning.
You know, it's like
That's
I jumped
Robert
a-
Flange.
No, see, I was
Bringing that one back.
One of these other issues. Sean goes, Larry, why do you get all pushed out of shape if we give wrong information? I'm looking. I'm like, what? Wait, you like to just throw out wrong information to people? Oh, hey, yeah.
Yeah, but there's wrong and there's wrong.
No,
there's
no,
wrong
it's like,
information
yeah.
where he says with authority that a certain name that makes you believe that it's that person.
But
or it's like, you know, that they made an adult version of My Little Pony that's, you know, like,
see, and I would believe that,
which they
And-
probably did.
But it's like I know, and there are listeners out there that are probably just like me. They're going, "Oh my gosh!"
No,
and then you,
no, they're not.
You,
Okay. No, they aren't.
you are inside going, "Ha ha ha!"
All right,
I
now,
pull a fast
Larry,
one.
I'm with you. Last week I did a commentary for Broken Arrow, and I couldn't remember that Christopher Jones starred in The Adventures of Jesse James on television. Mm-hmm. So I called our producer in London, and we dubbed it in.
Oh.
yeah.
So
that's
you
like-
gave correct information because you're a professional.
But there's a difference.
and that's how we should be.
But see, there's a
Mr.
difference.
Sheridan,
But see,
Mr. Weinhold.
to speak to you, talking to someone who is slightly humor impaired.
no, I like to laugh.
There's a difference between wrong information and what's known as a joke. Something that's exaggerated, that clearly doesn't exist because it's said for humor.
Wow.
Okay, well, sometimes
Take my class.
I'm just saying that sometimes, Sean might throw something out and he'll chuckle. And I'm just thinking, yeah, see, he's doing it right now.
Yes,
And
he's chuckling. We're all trying to have a good time, Larry.
Because Sean, you should respect yourself more because you have a wealth of information. That little head of yours
hating
has
yourself,
a
Sean.
ton of
I
information.
know.
That little head.
And
that
I
tiny
just-
pinhead of yours. When you're not
Head.
I'm just
dancing
All right.
around the lake in freaks.
okay.
All right.
Now we're not.
All right, let's go.
Okay,
Let's go.
Time for a listener shout out.
Shut up!
Want to read a
I do want to read a flight. I want to read a flight. I want to read a Huyven
Oh,
and a
man.
Clayson and I.
Let's try that again.
Okay.
And we'll do our Jerry Lewis episode another time. Time for listener
Yeah.
shout out is what the line is.
Thank you. Give me a read.
Yeah.
Time for a listener shout out.
Hey, very good. Time for a listener shout out.
Shout out.
We
A
received
little more energy.
Come on. That was, no, I agree with Matt. It was such
you
a
were
downer.
Like, it was
Time for
almost
a
like you
listener
were about to
shout
tell us
out.
something.
Yeah,
Like
time
some bad
for,
news.
Time for a listener shout out. I have cancer. I mean, come on.
I have cancer of the personality.
I have a club foot.
I've got a hunchback. Okay, good. Come on, energy. Here we go.
Get it together. Take a deep breath.
Deep breath.
Count to 10.
No, not 10. That's too long.
Backwards, forwards, go.
time for a
The adolescent James came in. Time for a listener shout out. Gee willikers, Mr. Wilson.